From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News. Hello, are you the famous Sue?
The whole crew with me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here, right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Hello, good morning. Live from Washington, D.C., this is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. Subpoena showdown. President Trump sued the BBC. Now the broadcaster wants testimony and documents from his kids. Has this legal war just turned nasty?
I'm not looking to get into lawsuits, but I think I have an obligation to do it. This was so egregious.
Elsewhere tonight, BB's Britain blast. Benjamin Netanyahu has mocked Britain as an Islamic republic as relations with Israel hit the rocks. What will Downing Street make of it?
You'll find it in Britain, in the Islamic Republic of Britain.
Breaking right now, the Great British Drought. Farmers are battling the driest July on record, but get this, in the last few moments, Andy Burnham is riding to the rescue with a £65 million bailout. But is it enough?
I realised how serious it was when I saw some of the images. Utterly devastating.
And did you hear this a bit earlier? Well, I didn't because I'm in the United States, but Britain has taken the extraordinary step of sending a wildfire alert to every single phone in England and Wales, maybe yours at home. Was it really warranted? Elsewhere, shock tactics. ICE agents could soon wear patrol gloves capable of delivering electric shocks as they ramp up deportations all across the United States. Would you want officers using them, or maybe even British police as well? I'm Ben Leo, and this is The Late Show Live. Hello, good morning to you. Hope you've had a good Friday. Welcome to The Late Show Live. Joining me this evening in Washington is my panel. Tonight I have the Washington Bureau Chief at The Guardian, David Smith, and the former Chief of Staff to Marco Rubio, Matt Terrell. And in London, I'm delighted to say we have political commentators Jonathan Liss and making her debut, I believe, on The Late Show Live, Ellie Hodges. Good evening to you both. Hello, Jonathan. Hello, Ellie. Thank you for your company. Right. First, this evening, let's cross to the GB newsroom in London for the latest on tonight's breaking news with Sophia Wensler.
That breaking news, Jason Arday, the former University of Cambridge professor, has been found dead. Mr. Arday was found unresponsive at an address in Battersea in South London this afternoon, according to the Metropolitan Police. A spokesman for the Met Police said officers were called by the London Ambulance Service at 3:12 p.m. today, and sadly a 41-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene. His next of kin have been informed and are being supported by officers. At this time, his death is being treated as unexpected, but is not believed to be suspicious. The case is being investigated by officers from the Met's Central South Command Unit. A file will be prepared for the coroner. It comes after Mr. Arday resigned as Professor of Sociology of Education at the University of Cambridge on the 5th of August, citing the unrelenting level of public scrutiny following accusations of plagiarism. The University of Cambridge Vice-Chancellor Professor Deborah Prentice has said she was desperately saddened by the death, adding our heartfelt sympathies go to Jason Arday's family and friends at this incredibly difficult time.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Breaking tonight, the BBC is getting desperate, and now it's dragging the president's family into the fight. The broadcaster wants to subpoena Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner as it battles President Trump's $10 billion defamation lawsuit. The corporation's lawyers want testimony, private documents and potentially depositions from members of the Trump family, claiming they know exactly what the president intended when he delivered that now infamous speech on January the 6th. But here's the big question. Is this really about establishing the truth, or is the BBC turning up the pressure in the hope that President Trump finally backs down? Well, with me now is political strategist Thomas Corbett-Dillon and the chair of Republicans Overseas UK, Greg Swenson. Hello, chaps. Breaking story here today in Washington. Of course, the BBC is literally, Thomas, running around America trying to serve President Trump's kids and Jared Kushner with subpoena papers. And the Secret Service, Thomas, are saying, nah, we ain't taking them. Off you trot.
That's right, and this is not just trying to. They've, on multiple occasions, have now sent people to try and breach Secret Service checkpoints. I mean, imagine this. They are asking a man to hand some papers to the president's daughter. That is a major breach of Secret Service. So all this is doing is just annoying the Trump family, annoying the president. There is now no chance that he is going to wrap this case up. And this idea that there is anything that the family have to say about this has already been through. Joe Biden's Justice Department already went after the president and went through all of the records, looked at all of the text messages from Ivanka, from all of these, from Jared. There's nothing in there. If there was, Merrick Garland would have pushed it. So this is it's actually quite bad tactics from the BBC, I think.
Yeah, I just wonder whose money they're using, by the way, as well, Greg. The BBC has refused to comment on how they're funding this defamation defence against President Trump. They'll say they don't know where the money's coming from, or at least they won't tell the public. I mean, it has to be coming from the licence fee coffers. But, Greg, Trump's children and son-in-law, according to the BBC, have, without question, says the Beeb, knowledge of several incidents on that day, on January the 6th. The BBC lawyers have written, including when Trump sought to convince former Vice President Mike Pence to refuse certifying the result of the 2020 election. Is the BBC just wasting time here? Why don't they just settle this lawsuit?
Yeah, they are. I mean, I think usually when you argue during the discovery phase to get evidence that might embarrass, the defendant or the plaintiff in this case, that might be a way to encourage or stimulate a settlement, an early settlement. And this is doing the complete opposite. This is just going to annoy the president. The nuisance factor is pretty high here. And so I think it will ultimately backfire on any effort to settle this thing quickly and quietly. They should have just rolled over and settled, initially, and instead they're going through this drama. But I think all this is performative, to say the least. There's no way that the Trump family is going to hand over their messages. They tried to do this with the president as well a few weeks ago, and it's not going to work.
Well, Thomas, they could have settled for maybe, I don't know, $5 to $10 million and just said to President Trump, OK, here you go, let's draw a line under it. We've already admitted a mistake, but we think your lawsuit is stupid, but here's some money to put a line under the matter. Just like ABC did, and I think it was CBS in the UK, in the US with the president. However, the BBC, Thomas, says that he doesn't have a case, and that's why they're fighting it so strongly. Their main point being that the programme wasn't broadcast in the United States. And also, by the way, they say, how could he have been defamed when he went on after that to win the election?
Right, and, all of this stuff that they're trying, it doesn't matter to what you find in their messages. It still doesn't justify the fact that they completely edited his speech out of context. None of this is justification. Even if they find some crazy stuff in the text messages, it's not a justification. But, this is such an awful tactic because what, I would be advising the president's legal team in a response is, well, why don't you subpoena the head of news at the BBC? Let's talk to her children. Let's find out how much of a Trump hater she is. Because they all went out there and said there was no institutional bias at the BBC. We all know that is absolutely false. The BBC hate the president. They always have. So that is exactly what they're doing. They might as well go ask all of the editors' families. Ask the older head of the BBC how much ask his kids, how much did your dad hate Trump? That's exactly what they're doing. It's outrageous to go after his children.
Yeah. Greg, last question to you. Do you think the BBC, between now and February, when the trial is set for in Miami, February 2027, do you think the Beeb will eventually draw a line under this and try and settle?
Without a doubt. It's already been embarrassing enough for the BBC. So without a doubt, they'll settle. I could put a 99% on it.
OK, great stuff. Greg, Thomas, thank you very much. Good to see you both, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks,
appreciate it. Let's get the thoughts of my panel here in DC. Washington Bureau Chief at The Guardian, David Smith, and former Chief of Staff to birthday boy Marco Rubio, Matt Serrell, and in London, Jonathan Liss and Ellie Hodges. Good evening to you all. David, let's start with you. You're in and around the White House quite a lot. What are you hearing from word on the ground here in DC? Are the Beeb prepared to go full throttle and indeed meet Trump in court in February?
I think it's possible. I think they believe they've got momentum on their side right now because, of course, in a previous round of this case, the BBC demanded financial records because Trump was claiming that his businesses had suffered due to this wrongly edited programme. And the BBC seemed to win that round. Trump's lawyers backed down. They did not want to share Donald Trump's personal financial information, unsurprisingly. So I think the BBC feel they may be on a streak, and they're going to try again now with the family members, making that argument that, as we've seen over recent years, Ivanka Trump was a senior advisor in the first Trump administration. Donald Trump Jr. is often out on a campaign trail, maybe force some more concessions from Trump. And I think their hope is that it's actually Trump who's going to drop this lawsuit before it comes to court, feeling perhaps, he's made his point and tried to intimidate other media from talking and writing about him.
How he's done here. I think Jared Kushner as well reported, I think your paper reports tonight, David, The Guardian, that Kushner helped write some of that speech on January the 6th, saying, calling for no violence. Matt, do you think President Trump will bottle it eventually? It doesn't seem the bottling type.
I think he's going to keep pushing forward, and it's up to President Trump what he's going to do and his legal team. But I think it's the right move. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I don't think this is really about the money for President Trump. Sure, he's doing that with his lawsuit, but it's really about justice. And if he doesn't do this, well, the BBC can do this again. And just putting the lawsuit aside, let's talk about the politics for a second. People need to remember that this documentary aired right before a presidential election. And yeah, it didn't air here in the United States across the country, but it did air in the UK. And there are U.S. citizens who live in the UK and vote in the U.S. election. So, look, is it enough to change the election? I don't think so. President Trump won the election anyways, but that is a variable here. I just think at the end of the day, the BBC was wrong. They edited this documentary to say something to give the impression that President Trump was saying something he didn't. They're wrong. They should just settle, apologize, move on.
Trump's lawyers also argue that it was played on iPlayer here. People have access to VPNs. Right. It was also distributed by a third-party production company all across North America. The reason I was laughing, Matt, during what you were saying, of course, not because of you, but Jonathan Liss is sat there muttering and giggling to himself. What's so funny, Jonathan?
I've never heard such pathetic defence of anything in my entire life, Ben. The idea that some people in America could have watched a panorama programme or VPN, and so Donald Trump needs lots of billions of dollars is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard on that channel, and that is saying something. Of course, Donald Trump was not defamed. Of course, his reputation didn't suffer. He won the next election. It's a complete what Donald Trump always does. He sends out sort of fishing missions to get more money to feather his nest because he's the greediest man who ever lived and the most corrupt. And of course, he expects people to fold. And the BBC's decided, and the BBC, that's owned by all of us, and we pay for it, has decided it's not going to give him $5 or $10 million, as you say, because that's sort of folding to bullies, and that's not what we pay the BBC
they might end up paying more money from licence fee coffers.
Well, look, the BBC has said, as it's entirely in its right to do, well, if you're going to sue us for this, then we need to see your records, because we need to know exactly what you did do on the 6th of January. We need to know how much you have suffered, and that does involve getting your financial records. That does involve speaking to your family, not random kids, Ben. Jared Kushner is still the president's close advisor. He's basically running the peace missions, so you can call it that, in Ukraine and Iran. And of course, he's closely related, and he's cashing in on the president's connections, as we know. His wife, Ivanka, was central advisor in the first presidency. So of course they're involved. The BBC has every right to talk to them.
Yeah. OK, Ellie, you're going to have to do me a favour tonight. I know it's your debut on the Late Show Live, and thank you for being with us. But because there's a 3 or 4 second delay, you're going to have to shut this up when it looks like I want him to shut up, if that's OK.
Okay, yeah, I mean, with all of this whole BBC thing, and I know that Jonathan just made the point that actually it is okay for the BBC to demand to speak to his family. Is it really? I mean, we have the full speech, the non-edited speech, and then we have the edited speech, so we can see exactly what happened here. It's all in plain sight. And I think that if something like this happened to me, where something had been edited to make it look like I said something that I quite literally didn't say, I would also probably do something like this, because it is, and even though you can make the point, oh, he still managed to have a political career after it, it wasn't that reputationally damaging. It could have been, and that's the problem.
What are you talking? Sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. He won the presidential election. If you were the president of the United States, I mean, I don't understand. If you were defamed in a certain way, he's the most famous man in the world.
Okay, so
he's one of the richest men in the world. And also, the most important thing that we're not thinking about in all this is that he did actually launch a coup against the United States government. That was a commonly consensus opinion on the 6th of January that Donald Trump had done something completely obscene, the storming of the Capitol, unprecedented.
Is it okay for the BBC to edit the clip, though? Yes or no?
The BBC might have made mistakes in that broadcast, but the context of it, in the general kind of sort of air of the general atmosphere of what it was conveying was that Donald Trump had attempted an insurrection against the United States government. That wasn't a controversial opinion on the 6th of January. There's been massive revisionism since.
And I'll ask the same question to David and Matt as well. If he launched an insurrection and a coup against the United States government, why is he not behind bars?
Good question. He was indicted, if you recall, and that was subsequently dropped. And now the Supreme Court has made the judgment that basically anything the president does is an official act. But he absolutely should be behind bars. And if you remember, there were many legal cases launched against him, including in Georgia, where he tried to sort of steal the election there. There's multiple evidence. Jack Smith, who was the attorney responsible for gathering those indictments, has a wealth of evidence against Trump. Obviously, that wasn't pursued because he then won the election, and Smith stood down before he was fired. It's not difficult.
Yeah, there is absolutely no way he would have won a national election, both the Electoral College and the popular vote, if the majority of Americans believed what you believe, Jonathan. And the reality is you're wrong. He didn't. I was in Washington, D.C. that day on January 6th. President Trump didn't launch a coup. Okay, the bottom line here is you had the BBC who misrepresented what the President of the United States said. And people in the UK saw it. People here in the United States saw it. It's right before a presidential election. It was the wrong thing to do. This is about right or wrong. It's not about whether it could have changed an election or not, or about just how much damage it did to President Trump and his reputation or not. It's about right and wrong. If President Trump doesn't do this lawsuit and keep pushing forward with it, then who else is going to ensure justice is made?
It's not about right and wrong. It's about reputational damage.
It's about justice.
No, it's not. It's about reputational damage, and he didn't have any.
I've been wrong.
Well, Trump has been saying that it is about righting and wrong. Why should the BBC, with all their publicly funded operations, what is the BBC? I mean, they're funded billions and billions a year from members of the public, and if they don't pay up, they're threatened with prison, including grannies. So why, with an operation that is so heavily resourced, and they've got the greatest minds and all the money in the world, they make mistake after mistake after mistake? If GB News did that about anybody else, Zach Polanski, we'd be pillared and sent to the coal mines and probably shut down. In Gaza, 2023, they said that Israel launched, they bombed a hospital in Gaza. It wasn't, it was a Hamas rocket. The Trump situation, which in fact they did that twice with Trump. They did it on Newsnight and they did it on another political programme as well. Why, time after time, should the BBC be allowed to get away with this? And by the way, Jonathan, I will say they mark their own homework. Ofcom, they deal with their own complaints before it goes to Ofcom. So it's about time somebody held the BBC to account, Jonathan.
I'm not saying the BBC can't be held to account. I'm saying this is a completely spurious lawsuit for all the reasons that have been mentioned. The fact that the programme wasn't even broadcast in America, that if you'd had to listen or had a VPN, it's complete nonsense. The idea that he would suffered any reputational damage is beyond ludicrous. Of course it didn't happen. It is a spurious law case.
But it did, because people like you think he called for violence down at the camp.
And he's going to withdraw it before the BBC does.
You've proven the lawsuit tonight, Jonathan, because you're sat here recycling old left-wing tropes, saying that he called for violence down at the US Capitol on January the 6th, which he didn't. David,
and he's not going to suffer any reputation for me saying that either, Ben. I can tell you that.
Yeah, to answer your question, I think he's not in jail because Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, dragged his feet and was very slow to prosecute this. It is worth remembering Trump was impeached by the House of Representatives over this, and the Senate, a majority of senators voted to convict him, but not enough, not the two-thirds majority required. And one other point I'd like to make about this entire case, I mean, the 10 billion number is wildly disproportionate for the BBC's supposed crime here. Let's remember it comes in a climate of Donald Trump punishing, persecuting media organisations, sending subpoenas to journalists, people turning up at their homes. I think that is what's really going on here. It's trying to instill a climate of fear among the media.
Who? The government, the Trump administration?
Yes.
Well, I mean, so why did he sue the previous broadcasters here? Was it ABC one of them? What was the Camera, the splicing interview? I mean, surely, if there were no grounds for him suing these broadcasters, he wouldn't be able to do it. So why don't these broadcasters just behave themselves and stop getting sued?
Right. Well, let's remember, sitting presidents have not sued media organisations before, so he's broken with the precedent of all his predecessors on that score. And there have been plenty, like the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, that have fought these cases, saying that they're spurious.
Well, it's about time someone takes on the media. Bottom line here is they've been partisan for years. This is a partisan job by the BBC. They should be held accountable.
OK. On the issue of the BBC splicing a clip of President Trump, the broadcaster said it sincerely regrets the manner in which the video clip was edited, but added that they strongly disagree there's a basis for a defamation claim in court. The BBC is also likely to have insurance, and how the BBC is funding its defence in this lawsuit remains unclear. Well, that's interesting. The BBC has insurance potentially for lawsuits like this. Right, let me know your thoughts. gbnews.com/your say. Loads have come in. I will collate them before the break and I'll read them out after. Still ahead on The Late Show Live this evening.
I realised how serious it was when I saw some of the images. Utterly devastating.
Breaking tonight, some good news. Andy Burnham claims he's riding to the rescue as Britain's farmers do battle with droughts. But is his lifeline all that it seems? 65 million quid. Sounds all right on the surface. But first tonight, Benjamin Netanyahu has mocked Britain as an Islamic republic. Is he right? More on that after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, still ahead, ICE agents could soon wear patrol gloves capable of delivering electric shocks as they ramp up deportations. They're pretty much low-grade tasers at the end of their fingertips, which can be deployed at the touch of a button. Would you want officers using them? Maybe even UK police? Let me know. But first, big story breaking today. Benjamin Netanyahu has just lobbed a diplomatic grenade directly at Andy Burnham's door in Downing Street. So the Israeli PM has branded the UK as the Islamic Republic of Britain, not once but twice, as relations between the two historic allies plunged to a new low. He was speaking on an Israeli podcast. Netanyahu claims the admiration for Israel, once found in Britain, has all but disappeared, joking that Britain, not Iran, could become the first Islamic Republic armed with nuclear weapons. Let's get the thoughts now of Chair of Pictou House, Mustafa Wasi. Mustafa, so Netanyahu's joking around saying Great Britain is now an Islamic Republic. Why would he say that, and is there any truth in that?
Well, firstly, the United Kingdom is a monarchy, not a republic, so that's not correct. Secondly, these claims were silly and childish when Suella Braverman mentioned them in DC earlier last year, and I think they're still silly, if not even more so. In no meaningful sense is this country an Islamist nation. I believe that I understand that there is a lot of latent anxiety in this country, particularly about the state of immigration and demographics. And these are all very legitimate claims. It's rightful to be scared about the rapid change of the demographic nature of this country, but we should also not pander to simple scaremongering. This is simply, in my opinion, a ploy to manipulate public sentiment by baiting these legitimate worries about our future in order to try and shore up support for an unpopular war with Gaza and now with Iran, particularly as tensions with the US are getting increasingly heightened.
I don't care much for Netanyahu. I don't like him. I don't dislike him. I don't really care about him, to be honest. But you could argue in his defence that he was on a podcast. He was quite relaxed. I guess the atmosphere and the environment isn't that of, say, a bog standard news interview. But the sentiment behind his comments, I mean, he feels that Britain has neglected and deserted Israel in their time of need. I mean, has he got a point there?
I feel like Britain has had a fairly steady course where it's sort of maintained its relationship with its allies through the Labour government, and now we're starting to see popular pushback from both the left and also segments of the right against these conflicts in the Middle East. I think after Iraq, now with Iran, the fact that there's increasing chaos, the fact that there's migration in droves from Africa and from the Middle East, the fact that our economy is relatively stagnant. I feel like our country has larger problems taking care of its own domestic citizenry, and I think that that's what we should really be focused on. And while, I understand the concern about demographics, I understand the concern about immigration, I understand the concern about the economy, I really think that we should resist attempts to get baited by foreign governments into starting to ask existential questions about the nature of ourselves, and instead think calmly, coolly, and rationally about the state of our nation and about how best we can address these problems. Problems that really matter, like immigration, like the cost of living crisis, like the energy crises, like the drought, like our failing healthcare system.
Okay, well, it was also J.D. Vance, was it a year or two ago, who at the Munich Security Conference, I think his comments were something like, well, they echoed Netanyahu's. He said that the UK would be the first Islamist nation with a nuclear bomb. I think he said Islamist, or at least Islamic.
Yeah, I understand that, but again, it just sounds silly to me. Like Muslims, there are lots of problems with the Muslim community in this country, as you guys have shined light on in very earnest and sincere ways. To your credit. But again, Muslims comprise something like 6% of the population of this country. There's no sense in which they hold like an exceedingly large or unrepresentatively big share of the political power.
Islamists count for about 90%. Sorry to interject. Islamists account, which of course is separate. It's the extreme arm of Islam, but they account for 90% of the terror attacks over the past 20 years, for starters. So, maybe that's what Vance and Netanyahu were talking about.
Oh, I agree, right? But then, the fact that the IRA is bombing London doesn't make London an IRA city, right? Like the fact that we have radical elements in our society that we need to excise and root out with strength and justice and dignity does not mean that we have suddenly kowtowed to this. The fact that we have been lax about minority policy in this country is a disaster, and only adds to these general sense of insecurity about the state and future of our nation. I think the way to respond with this largely is with strength, some degree of confidence, and with a certain degree of focus, again, once on our citizenry and on our national priorities, rather than, again, getting baited by foreign governments.
Okay, Mustafa, great to speak with you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Please come back on the Late Show Live when you're free. Mustafa Wasi there. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. David Smith, Marco Rubio. I wish. Sorry, Matt Terrell. Yeah, Marco Rubio, you're very welcome if you're watching. Matt Terrell, Jonathan Liss and Ellie Hodges. Ellie, what did you make of Netanyahu's comments? Again, they echoed J.D. Vance's comments from a few years ago. Are they childish, or has he got a sort of a deeper point behind them?
Well, I do disagree with this, because I think that whilst we can talk about the extreme Islam threats that this country has and the real issues with integration, for example, I think kind of saying that we've turned into a complete Islamic country is just going a step too far and is not actually helping anyone in this situation, because it's kind of overshadowing serious conversations that need to be had. So I do disagree with his comments here, but there are serious conversations that need to be had, and I just don't think that it helps anyone by kind of just exaggerating it to this extent.
Okay. Yeah, Matt, I will say Americans do seem to think there is some sort of Islamic takeover of the UK. I mean, they probably think the demographics of London, which is white Brits of, I think, 34% in London. I think from my interactions with Americans, they think that is par for the course all across the UK.
Well, I think that many Americans, many people across the UK recognize that there are changes taking place in the UK right now. It's less about race and religion. Let's put that aside. It's just about national security. I mean, the bottom line here is in the UK, you've had under Keir Starmer, over 70,000 people cross on small boats illegally into the UK. You have a problem with vetting these individuals coming to the UK. And beyond that, you're not removing these people quick enough from the UK. President Trump recognized here in the United States you have to have a secure border if you have a secure country. You don't have that right now in the UK. And you are seeing things taking place in the UK. And I'm not saying there's direct correlations here, but you're seeing the number of rape cases, for example, or people reporting rape in the UK skyrocketing over the past year or two. You're seeing crime up. So, look, there are major challenges the UK is facing right now. No question, illegal immigration is one of them. I think it's the broader recognition that people in the United States have, in the UK have. And I think if the UK was wise, they followed the lead of the United States, secure your border, make sure you have a secure border, you're vetting people coming in and out, and more importantly, removing people who are illegally in your country from the the country, given the danger many illegal immigrants have presented to people in the United States and, of course, to people in the UK as well.
Yeah, as Ellie was saying, I think an Islamic takeover is obviously hyperbolic. However, we have Sharia courts operating in the UK. There was that now infamous story a few years ago of a Sharia facilitator being advertised at some Manchester community centre somewhere. There's the challenge and the conversation about people not being able to speak English. I think it's something like up of 1 million people. Jonathan, you're shaking your head. What do you disagree with this time?
And first of all, the white British percentage that you gave, I mean, that is, a lot of people would think that was alarming, but it also excludes, for example, it's self-reported whiteness, I think, from the census. It also excludes white Irish people, for example, white European people, and also the white British people, or white people, make up a vast majority of this country. So, you know, I just don't see what the point is.
Well, that's precisely what I said, Jonathan. I don't think you were listening to what I said. Yes. I said Americans have a perception that what's going on in London is all across the UK.
In London are white British, and I'm just pointing out that also excludes. Yeah, I think the majority of people are white, for what it's worth. They might not be white British, but they are white for what it's worth. I don't think.
But my point is, London is their city. I don't care if there's white Europeans. London doesn't belong to them. It's not their capital city. Likewise, the Irish. London is a British city.
What do you mean? That
means
why I say white British.
Irish,
that means that you might have Irish ancestry. Oh, like, I mean, look, Ben, am I white British? I mean, neither of my parents was born in Britain, but I was born here.
I don't know. What's your ancestry?
I don't know what Jewish people are supposed to put on the census, and a lot of people don't know if they're white other or not white or what. So these things are kind of sort of meaningless.
I think it's more the issue of integration, though. I think that's when we talk about kind of how London communities have changed. We're talking about communities that just look completely unrecognisable.
The fundamental point is that clearly Britain is not a Muslim state on any measure. You just also talked about Sharia courts operating. Well, guess what? Jewish religious courts operate as well. They are not. They are within the British law. They do not trump British law in any way.
None of it's good.
And Britain's not a Jewish state any more than it's a Muslim state. Okay, it is clearly, you know, we have an established church in this country. Britain is a Christian state, and Muslim people are a
there's
minority,
only 300 or 1,000 Jews,
minority.
and there's about, what is it,
Yes.
6 million Muslims. So I mean, there is a difference. David, any
still
thoughts?
a small minority, Ben.
I think these are lazy and unhelpful remarks from Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm a foreign correspondent. If I heard a claim like this about any country, I would go there. I would say, well, what percentage of the population? Do they hold positions of leadership, such as Prime Minister or the head of state? Is this community running business boardrooms in the City of London and so on? But I think what might really be going on here is that some of the politics. Benjamin Netanyahu's up for re-election and struggling. He may see in Britain, Keir Starmer was very firm against anti-Semitism. Perhaps he has worries about Andy Burnham, I don't know. So he may be aware of public opinion shifting on Gaza, both in Britain and the United States. And right now, I think Netanyahu is a frustrated man because Donald Trump, his once great ally, has not endorsed him for re-election in Israel. So he needs to make a splash. He needs to catch the eye of people like J.D. Vance, and he's using this kind of great replacement theory type rhetoric to do it.
Yeah,
it's really
last word on this. I think. Go on, Jonathan.
I think it's just really outrageous that Benjamin Netanyahu, who leads, you know, like it or not, a Jewish state, or the Jewish state, should be appealing to basically racists, basically, who include anti-Semites, by the way, and people appealing to Islamophobic, deeply Islamophobic politics, sort of, you know, the far-right people around the world who will lap this kind of stuff up. I think it's so reprehensible and so disgraceful, and really it's so embarrassing, actually, that this country that has done so much to placate Netanyahu, you know, sort of by prescribing Palestine action, arresting old ladies for holding up signs, you know, sort of to spare the feelings of people like Netanyahu. And the thanks we get for that is for him to sort of, try to humiliate us on the world stage and to make all these kinds of baseless
I don't
smears
need to
about
be a
us.
Netanyahu fan to be against jihadis. People say this to me all the time, Ellie. They say, oh, Ben, you're a Jew, you're a Zionist. I'm not a Jew or a Zionist. I don't really care about Israel for the most part, but if you ask me to choose between a Jew or a jihadi, I'm going to choose a Jew.
And I think that you know, Jonathan's making the point that it's Islamophobic to kind of talk about these issues. Talking about extreme Islam and some of the views that some Muslims, and I'm very careful to say that some Muslims in this country have, is not Islamophobic. We've got 46% of British Muslims have a positive view of Hamas, which is a terrorist organisation. A conversation needs to be had about that, and it's not Islamophobic to say it.
I didn't say it was Islamophobic to talk about any of these issues.
Well, you just said
no, I didn't. I said that Netanyahu is appealing to Islamophobia. He himself is deeply Islamophobic, and the fact that we're even talking about this, about sort of like, you know, having the Islamic Republic of Britain, and that would be obviously a terrible thing, is also rooted in a deep, literally a fear of Islam, Islamophobia. The fact that, you know, Islamic, obviously we're not an Islamic Republic.
You don't think if Britain did become...
The idea that it would be is obviously horrific to people like Netanyahu.
Well, is it not horrific to you that Britain, I'm sure it will never happen, well, it could be, but it's not horrific to you that Britain could one day be majority Muslim? Is that not horrific to you?
It's not going to happen, Ben. It's not going to happen because Britain isn't a Muslim majority state.
But if it did?
But it's not going to.
Is it not disturbing to you that the British identity and culture would be wiped out?
It's like saying Israel has more likelihood of becoming a Muslim state than Britain has of becoming a Muslim state. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, all right. I'm just clarifying because it sounded like you weren't that bothered if that would... I know it's a very far-fetched thing to happen, but if that were the case, you wouldn't seem too bothered. I mean, that's my interpretation from me. On illegal migration, this is what the Prime Minister... OK. Sorry, a bit of a delay makes it awkward. This is what the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has previously said on immigration.
Obviously, there are crossings this week, but overall, if you look at the picture in 2026 compared to last year, 2025, there is significant progress.
Thank you, Andy Burnham. Right, before we move on, quick shout out to my son Jude, who for the first time ever is able to stay up and watch The Late Show live on GB News live because he's in Florida. They're over on a holiday. I'm going to pop to see them on Monday. And yeah, just thought I'd share that with you. Jude enjoying the debate on immigration, Islam becoming a majority in the UK. BBC subpoenaing Trump's children. I'm sure he doesn't care what's going on, actually. But anyway, he's up there. The Finding Nemo wallpapers on the screen. Love you, Jude. Love you, Zach. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. As I said, I'm sure he doesn't care. He's probably on his iPad or something. Right, still ahead on The Late Show Live.
With today's guilty plea, Mr. Mangione has accepted full responsibility for the death of Brian Thompson.
Luigi Mangione has admitted killing healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, so why are fans still cheering him on? But first tonight, farmers are battling the driest July on record in the UK. Now Andy Burnham wants you to believe he's riding to the rescue. All the details on his massive farming war chest next. Don't go anywhere.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans? Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account. You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live. I'm Ben Leo. Still ahead, extraordinary intelligence is reportedly warning of Iranian plots to shoot, stab or even bring down the president's plane in various assassination plots. Just how serious are those threats? And would you, given the opportunity, would you, viewers and listeners, travel on Air Force One again after what we heard about Ankara in Turkey? Anyway, first tonight, breaking news. The Prime Minister has announced that farmers across England will receive a £65 million support package to help them cope with the impact of drought and repeated heat waves. The funding includes £50 million for environmental farming payments and £15 million to help build on-farm reservoirs alongside more flexible access to water and grazing land. Sound like a good idea? With me now is former Tory MP and farmer Neil Parish and farmer Clive Bailey. Good to see you guys. Thank you for your company. Clive, I'll start with you. Is this enough, 65 million quid? It sounds pretty generous on the surface, but of course there's a lot of farmers in England.
Hello, Ben. Yeah, well, first thing is, as it says, this isn't £65 million of new money. I think they've phrased it as a reprioritisation of money of DEFRA. So basically, this is coming out of the existing budget. It's not new money. And what the press release around this doesn't tell us is where exactly that money's coming from. What's being cut to pay for it.
So if I'm correct, this is part of an existing fund which is maybe in the hundreds of millions, or maybe it's something like, as far as I remember, 150 odd million, but they're adding to it. Is that the case, Clive?
No, it says it's a reprioritisation. So the way I'm understanding that is it's coming out of the existing DEFRA budget, which you've got to remember as well was already cut £280 million. Sorry, it fell this year. So it's I think from what I can work out, I think they're announcing just a redistribution of existing money. I don't think this is 65 million of additional support for farmers at all.
Oh, what a load of manure. Neil, is that correct? Is Clive correct with his analysis there?
I think Clive is absolutely right. The sustainable farming incentive is, brings in things like herbal lays and where you can actually, farm more environmentally, but you can still keep a good amount of livestock. And they've been cutting back on that, which is very, very wrong. And you see, the trouble is this government doesn't really have a policy on producing food. So, I mean, the only thing I do actually welcome from the Prime Minister is this idea of actually building some more reservoirs on farms and help with that. But like that, it's not fresh money, it's recycled money. But, we do have to face up to the drought. We've got, real trouble with blue tongue. The midges, of course, this year have been able to travel around with this very, very hot weather. I mean, on my own farm, I have never seen it so dry. Not even, as far as I can remember, going back to 76, I think this is drier because it's been hotter as well as dry, you see, and everything has burnt up. Farmers are getting into their winter feed. There's a lot of problems out there. And like I said, I mean, I welcome the Prime Minister taking some interest, but I think he's got to be careful that he doesn't just sort of stir the pot, give us back some money that they'd already taken away, and then sort of wrap it up as a wonderful package. What I want to see from the Labour government is a policy on let's produce food in this country and help farmers to do it. All the time money is being taken away from producing food and we haven't got the right crops that we can grow. All of these things, a tax on fertilizer, all of these things is just taking away our ability to grow food, and that really worries me.
Okay. All right, Clive, last word to you. Andy Burnham is visiting a farm in the southwest, I think it is, tomorrow, later today. There are plans, he'll talk about this, there are plans to basically make it easier to build reservoirs with changes to the national planning policy, with the last reservoir built in the UK, no surprise really, in 1991. Is that good news?
Two things that are positive out of this is obviously the ability for the livestock farmers to now use the forage from the environmental crops is good news, and that's great for animal welfare and a contribution towards keeping prices cheaper for food and some food security. But the reservoirs, I mean, I think the thing that I hope is discussed tomorrow with Andy Burnham. They're huge capital investment projects. So planning and a 40% grant towards one alone. The incentive for farmers to invest capital into their farms was completely removed in that 2024 budget. So all we're really doing, a reservoir might store water, but we're also just storing up a tax problem for our children if we make those kind of capital investments. So the incentive to invest in our businesses and improve those farms, even with grant help, it's not happening. Most farmers I know the checkbooks are closed. They're not interested in investing in their businesses. They're just trying to survive right now. So, it's the right step in the right direction, but I can't see that many people getting over enthusiastic. And £15 million is a lot of money, but over £100,000 in the farm, that's in the 100 farms in the country, that's 150 quid for each farm. It's not a huge amount of cash when you consider the scale of the problem here.
All right, guys, thank you for providing some context on that. Appreciate it. Clive Bailey and Neil Parish, and also for staying up so late with The Late Show Live. Thank you so much, chaps. Right, still ahead on The Late Show Live this evening. Britain has taken the extraordinary to every phone in England and Wales. Was your phone going off crazily a few hours ago now? Was it really warranted? But also on the show tonight.
Back up! Are you party packed? Is he packed?
Right, well, this is going to spark some debates. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agents, or ICE to you and me, could soon wear patrol gloves capable of delivering electric shocks as they tackle violence and ramp up deportations all across the US. Is it time for something similar in the United Kingdom, maybe with our police? I mean, they can't even carry pepper spray. Well, they do. No, the public can't carry pepper spray. All that and more after the break.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, let's delve into some of the main stories on the front pages tomorrow, starting with the Daily Express, which is reporting Nigel Farage has warned critics we're only just getting started after his election victory in Clacton yesterday. Writing exclusively for the paper, the re-elected MP said, "From the moment I resigned and forced the by-election, I made clear that this was about far more than whether I continued as the local MP. They want to silence our party because we speak up for those who have been ignored for far too long. The silenced majority who have had enough of uncontrolled immigration, rampant crime, the runaway cost of living crisis and all the other problems of living in broken Britain." Let's get the thoughts on my panel. Ellie Hodges in the UK. What did you make of the election victory last night? I guess it was only ever going to go one way, but what do you make of Farage's comments in the Express tomorrow that, well, it's for the silenced majority who have been oppressed for far too long?
Well, I think that he's absolutely right. And, you know, I was in Clacton for the election, and I spoke to some people on the doorstep just to kind of see what the mood was. And they're all putting all of their hope behind Nigel Farage, or the majority of them are anyway. And I think that there's a real sense of he is the last man, he's the last person to save this country, and that everyone is putting their hope behind him. And I think that right now he's where he wants to be in terms of he's just won this by-election. Obviously, as you said, he was always going to win it, but he's actually increased his majority since the general election. He loved campaigning, and I think that he's actually probably in his mind in quite a good spot right now, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Also, was it Nige Fest? What was that event last night? Was it called Farage Fest? That was it.
Farage
Jonathan,
Fest.
were you there?
Oh yeah, Ben. I was in the front row. I just love the guy. I just love the guy. I'm a massive fan.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually end up going to that, which I'm very annoyed about. But it looked pretty good, and I mean, only Reform would ever do that. I think. I mean, you had a Ferris wheel, you had DJs, you had all of this.
I mean, it's just embarrassing. It's cringe to call a fest after.
I mean, people went to it, so you're kind of insulting everyone that went to it.
No, I'm saying it's a cringe thing to call, and the same way that
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit cringe.
There was a cult. Thank you. There was a cult of Jeremy Corbyn. Other parties don't need to repeat that cult, no matter who it is. It's cringy to make you. It's a serious point.
They're having fun.
It's deeply embarrassing and also not good politics to make one person the absolute linchpin of your party. Because if Nigel Farage goes, who do you think the public are going to flock to? Robert Jenrick? Richard Tice? Lee Anderson? I don't think so. There is no one with the star power of Farage. And Farage
Trump did exactly that.
Huh?
Sorry to interrupt. We just pushed for time. Matt,
Yeah.
Trump did exactly that. It is Trump. He was the new Republican Party.
Yeah, you cannot have a movement unless you have a leader. And you have to have a face of the movement. And President Trump had that here in the United States, still has it today. And it's really about that forgotten man or forgotten woman. And I think that that's what now Farage is really trying to make the case of his effort going forward here, and really talking about the things that the people of the UK care about. Reducing crime, opening up oil production, but more importantly beyond that, security, safety, securing the border, deporting those who are in the country illegally. Much of those themes were the themes that President Trump campaigned on and won on in 2024. I think it's a smart play right now. I think fighting for that forgotten man and forgotten woman, that needs to be the theme. I think it's totally fine to have one person be the face of this. A movement can only be a movement if you have a leader. President Trump has a movement here. I think Nigel Farage currently has a movement as well.
David, was The Guardian at Farage Fest last night in Clacton? Any colleagues down there?
I have no idea. We were probably at Count Binface's rival event for the Count Binface movement. I mean, I do think this was a political stunt by Nigel Farage that backfired. The Tories and Labour stayed away. It meant lots of media coverage for Count Binface and a little bit humiliating for Farage. He still has that corruption allegation of the money hanging over him. And when I was back in the UK a few weeks ago, I mean, I live in Washington now, certainly there was a sense of perhaps the momentum is shifting. Net migration is down. Labour has a new leader. He given them a boost, and Labour are ahead in the polls for the first time in about a year.
But that's expected though, right? I mean, you're always going to get benefits. And also, net migration is down because 250,000 Brits have fled the UK because they think it's such a state.
That's not the reason. The National Bureau of Statistics said that's not the reason.
Go on, Jonathan.
No, I think that Farage put the House on this election, and it's failed on every count, because it was completely humiliating the fact that he was up against a bin who won 27% of the vote, by the way. Of course he won the election, but he was hoping to stymie the investigation, which obviously has backfired because the investigation is beginning again. He was hoping to regain the political momentum, and that's failed now, partly because Starmer's gone, and Starmer was part of the reason that he'd gained so much popularity. Burnham's in. Burnham is now Burnham's the most popular politician in the country.
I think he has.
He hasn't.
We've got to go.
Well, we're talking about him right now because he just won the by-election. So.
Talking about someone is not the same as them regaining the momentum. We talked about Starmer all the time.
Guys, we'll continue this. We'll continue this after the break. Sorry to squeeze you, we just pushed for time. We'll continue this chat after the break. More coming up in the next hour, including why we could soon see the end of this.
Back up! Are you part of the pack? Is he packed?
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans? Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account. You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good morning. Live from Washington, D.C., this is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. Subpoena showdown. President Trump sued the BBC. Now the broadcaster wants testimony and documents from his children. Has this legal war just turned nasty? Well, political strategist Thomas Corbett-Dillon joined me earlier.
All this is doing is just annoying the Trump family, annoying the president. There is now no chance that he is going to wrap this case up. And this idea that there is anything that the family have to say about this has already been through. Joe Biden's Justice Department already went after the president.
Now the Great British Drought. Farmers are battling the driest July on record. But now Andy Burnham, the Prime Minister, is riding to the rescue, apparently, with 65 million quid in a bailout. Is it enough?
I realised how serious it was when I saw some of the images. Utterly devastating.
And luckily I didn't, but did you hear this a bit earlier? Well, Britain has taken the extraordinary step of sending a wildfire alert to every single phone in England and Wales. Was it really necessary? Also tonight, shock tactics. Literally, ICE agents could soon wear patrol gloves capable of delivering electric shocks through their fingertips as they ramp up deportations of illegal migrants all across America. Would you want ICE officers using them if you were American?
With today's guilty plea, Mr. Mangione has accepted full responsibility for the death of Brian Thompson.
Good morning to you. I'm Ben Leo, and this is The Late Show Live. Good morning. Happy Saturday to you. Joining me in Washington this evening is my panel. We've got the Washington Bureau Chief at The Guardian, David Smith, former Chief of Staff to Marco Rubio, Matt Terrell, and in London, political commentators Jonathan Liss and Ellie Hodges. Hello, you two. Thank you for your company this morning. Right, let's cross to the GB newsroom in London for the latest on tonight's breaking news with Sophia Wensler.
That breaking news, Jason Arday, the former University of Cambridge professor, has been found dead. Mr. Arday was found unresponsive at an address in Battersea in South London this afternoon, according to the Metropolitan Police. A spokesman for the Met Police said officers were called by the London Ambulance Service at 3:12 p.m. today, and sadly a 41-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene. His next of kin have been informed and are being supported by officers. At this time, his death is being treated as unexpected, but is not believed to be suspicious. The case is being investigated by officers from the Met's Central South Command Unit. A file will be prepared for the coroner. It comes after Mr. Arday resigned as Professor of Sociology of Education at the University of Cambridge on the 5th of August, citing the unrelenting level of public scrutiny following accusations of plagiarism. The University of Cambridge Vice-Chancellor Professor Deborah Prentice has said she was desperately saddened by the death, adding our heartfelt sympathies go to Jason Arday's family and friends at this incredibly difficult time.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
All right, let's start with a GB News alert this hour. ICE agents could soon have a shocking new weapon in President Trump's immigration crackdown, quite literally. The agency is preparing to spend up to $20 million on electrified gloves designed to subdue dangerous suspects at the touch of a button. So these are literally gloves with electric zaps at the end of their fingertips. They look and function like ordinary patrol gloves until an officer activates them and delivers a rather painful electric shock directly through the skin. Supporters say they could give agents another non-lethal option when arrests turn violent, potentially incapacitating a suspect without maybe reaching for a gun or indeed a stronger taser. But before the gloves have been even issued to ICE agents, Democrats here are absolutely furious. New York Attorney General Letitia James is threatening legal consequences if they are misused, while critics warn officers could deploy them against people who pose no genuine threat. Is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? gbnews.com/your say. Let me know your thoughts. Let's get the thoughts now of political strategist and podcast host Tiffany Marie Brannan. Hello, Tiffany. Thoughts on these electrifying ICE gloves, please?
Oh, you know I love them. I'm so excited. I want a pair. I think they come in very handy. But you have to remember that, you know, assaults against ICE agents, the physical assaults are up 1,300%. Death threats are up 8,000%, and vehicular attacks are up 3,200%. So they have really been pushed out into this sort of like, well, we have to come up with something new. Everyone is, you know, ranting and raving anytime they have to pull a gun out, even though in the last year, over a year, there's only been 10 or 11 people that have actually been shot while doing something terrible or fleeing. And it's ironic to me, honestly, that Letitia James has any kind of nerve whatsoever to complain or say anything, because this is the same woman, Ben, who urged the U.S. Senate to oppose the Laken-Riley Act, which would basically keep illegal immigrants that have previous arrests or whatever in jail. So this is a woman that does not have American interests at heart.
Tiffany, you can see the footage on your screen now of these gloves being used. Do you dare coming into the Late Show Live studio next time you're here, and would you get zapped with these gloves just to prove your point that you think they should be used?
I'll do it. I'm pretty sure I'm there on Friday, Ben. So, you know, I'm a woman of my word. Test me out, but maybe do it after the show so that I can actually talk on the show without twitching or something.
Oh, no, it's got to be on air. It's got to be live. They are called generated low output voltage emitter gloves.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
You've got to do it for the viewers.
Exactly. Take one for the team.
I will say, just for clarification, Tiffany, these devices are called the generated low output voltage emitter glove, and they must be applied directly to somebody's skin. They don't leave burn marks or scorch marks like a taser does, and they're less powerful than tasers. So I just would ask, if the Democrats and some of those on the left have an issue with these gloves, why aren't they also calling for tasers to be banned as well?
Well, it's damned if you do and damned if you don't, you know, to use a turn of phrase, because there's nothing that the ICE agents or officers can do that will make these people happy. They are determined to complain and rant and rave about absolutely everything that is actually an attempt at improvement, an attempt at trying to meet them halfway. So the real question is, you know, why? You're right. Why won't they actually do anything or say something when it's one or not the other?
Tiffany, hang on the line. We've got your best mate, Jonathan Liss, in London, who, well, I'm not sure if he wants to speak to you, but I'm going to invite him into the conversation anyway. Jonathan, what's your thoughts on these gloves? Would you like a pair for Christmas?
Sorry, say the question again?
So I'm just getting your thoughts on these gloves. Would you fancy a pair for Christmas to bat off all the right-wingers? Farage, go away. Zap.
The thing with me and many people on the left is that we actually have a consistency across the board, and we don't wish harm on anybody, neither ourselves nor our opponents. So I wouldn't want to use these gloves on anyone. So not even you in our sparkiest encounters. And the serious point here is that ICE has shown repeatedly that it has overstepped its authority, it has abused its power, it has literally killed innocent American citizens and many innocent non-American citizens, by the way, as well. So the idea that we should be giving them more tools to hurt people is beyond obscene. They already have more tools than they need. They have been given almost unlimited funding by a supine Congress, and they do not need more ways to intimidate, threaten, hurt, or kill people. Not that these gloves are going to kill people, but if I would just not trust an ICE agent to have any kind of additional weapon at their disposal, and I don't understand why they can't do their jobs without them.
Jonathan, it's not a weapon,
Tiffany?
though. This is literally, it causes zero problems. As Ben had said, it's no burn marks, no nothing. It's just a shock and voltage. And you're wrong when it comes to facts, because ICE agents haven't killed all these Americans that are innocent. They haven't killed all these people. As I've said, they've only actually shot a total of 10 to 11 people in over a year. I'm sorry?
What about Renee Good and Alex Pretty? What were they guilty of?
Well, one of them, I mean, we have video for both of them, actually. Both of them actually charged these ICE agents in their cars. They attacked them. I mean, they had weapons. This is insane. No, the only thing disgraceful is anyone that's trying to object and interfere with ICE agents doing their job, Jonathan. No. If I go up to a police officer in London and start assaulting him, are you kidding me? You're kidding, right?
That's not what happened,
think that
and you know it. I don't understand. Tiffany, look.
What about
Tiffany,
the gentleman that was just arrested before buying a baseball bat? They freaked out at him.
You can make your point without shilling for ICE, okay? Alex Pretty and Renee Good
I'm not shilling for ICE. I love ICE. I would volunteer for ICE if I could.
Who were killed in cold blood. And, you know, I don't understand why people on your side can't at least acknowledge that ICE is capable of making mistakes, that ICE has made mistakes, and that we don't need ICE to have more ways of hurting people. They've hurt plenty of people as it is.
They haven't hurt plenty of people,
So,
and
Jonathan,
honestly, I wish the UK would have ICE, because then you wouldn't be in the disaster you're currently
I
in.
wish to God that we wouldn't, actually, and thank God we don't.
OK, Jonathan, we're talking about two incidents here, which can be we could debate it until the sun goes down. One being Renee Good, who arguably drove her car towards the ICE agent, the same agent, by the way, Stop interrupting. Stop interrupting. Who a week or two before was subject to another car ramming incident. It seems to be commonplace amongst ICE agents. They are victims a lot of the time of car ramming incidents. I've gone out with ICE on jobs. They are normal human beings. You seem to demonise them as some sort of like authoritarian, boot-wearing murderers, courtesy of the government. They've been around for decades. Why is it now President Trump deploys ICE? By the way, with lower deportation numbers than Obama. In fact, right-wingers are upset with the number of people deported.
What you've seen.
Why is it now Trump does it? You've got an issue with it.
What you've seen repeatedly. I wouldn't defend Obama either, and I wouldn't defend Biden on this. I'm not one of these You always think that I'm this partisan person that sort of supports everything the Democrats do and loathes everything the Republicans do.
So how would you forcibly deport illegals? How would you forcibly deport illegal migrants?
Look, that's not the question. The question is the tactics.
It is the question, Jonathan. It's actually the question.
How would you forcibly deport illegal migrants?
Well, look, this is not about deporting illegal migrants, Ben.
It is.
This is about campaigns of terror.
It's immigration enforcement.
This is
We're
about
enforcing
campaigns of
immigration.
terror
These are illegal
that
people.
ICE
They shouldn't be in my country.
This is about campaigns of terror that ICE instituted in overwhelmingly democratic
Campaigns
cities
of terror,
like
Jonathan?
Minneapolis.
Are you kidding
and you talk
me?
to people who were in Minneapolis, and they report a climate of total fear where people who looked vaguely brown or black were afraid to even leave the houses. This is what people were actually saying. This is anecdotal. This is not stuff I'm making up. This is what was being reported from Minneapolis in January when ICE was going on the rampage there and picking people up, asking to see people's papers and identity if they look Latino, and this is completely wrong. It's completely un-American.
All right. Tiffany, last word to you.
Tell that to Laken Riley or Jocelyn Ungare. Tell that to any of these young women that have been raped and murdered.
Because the people,
it's not. It's the truth.
Some migrants are bad people. Just like all people can be bad people, and there are bad people in every cohort.
Legally,
it doesn't mean
they are bad.
Actually,
they committed a crime.
Hang on a minute. I wanted to hear from Tiffany, and then you butted in again, Jonathan. Tiffany, last word to you.
Well, if they're here illegally, they've already committed a crime. My country is not everyone else's safe haven and bank account. You do not have a right to come to my country and live off our welfare system and our healthcare and our education and drain us of all of our wealth and assets and funding. You don't have the right to be here. You're not an American, so you should be removed. If you would like to come here, you can apply for asylum. We have legal ways you can do that. Trump obviously is overruled by the Supreme Court on birthright. No. And the reality is that if they're already here, I don't care how nice they are. They have already committed a crime. We are a sovereign nation, and that sovereignty only remains intact if we remain law-abiding and practice the law.
Jonathan, can I ask you that question again, and please consider it without moving on? How would you forcibly deport illegals who are hiding, who don't want to declare themselves for deportation?
Ben, obviously, in America, you have people who are undocumented migrants. They've been there for many, many years. They have put down roots. They have children who are sort of American-born
Doesn't matter,
citizens.
not the question. How would you deport them?
Well, the question is whether it is in the public interest to deport people who
So you
made
wouldn't
their
deport
lives
them?
in
That's your
America.
answer. Let them all stay.
Then this is a ridiculous question to ask me. Obviously, there are people...
Answer it! Answer it!
Tiffany,
Jonathan, a country needs to have the ability to remove people who don't belong there if they choose.
Your question, so let me finish the answer, please.
Go on then, answer it. I mean, you're just absurd with your answers, that's why.
Then you have to take this on a case-by-case basis. If there are people who have recently arrived in America and are found to have no right to be there, then, of course, in those cases, a deportation might be an appropriate course of action. If, on the other hand, you are hounding people who've been in America, who've worked for decades, who have families, who have kids there, I do not, in the main, think that is an appropriate course of action.
We're not asking who you deport,
don't think it's
Jonathan.
appropriate to sort of accost people in the street who would look Latino or black or anything like that, and
Jonathan,
ask them to see
you're missing the point of Ben's question. You're missing the point of Ben's question. He's not asking you who
He's
to
still not
deport.
answered it.
He's asking you, how would you physically deport someone that doesn't want to leave the country? You have this problem. Look how many migrant boats you have taking over the UK. So how do you remove people from America who are here without asking them to sing Kumbaya and hold your hand?
Tiffany, it's not about singing Kumbaya or anything. Clearly, there are.
Then give me an action. Give me practical action.
Well, if you
Someone's
stopped
here. They
interrupting
don't
me, I
want to
would.
move. They're in your house. How do you get them out?
In Britain, we have law courts and we have police. And if you are found
Let's talk about Britain's migrant problem. That's hilarious. I'm not asking that question.
If you're not interested in hearing my answer, then why bother asking me the question?
I want to hear it. Let him answer. But Jonathan, last word to you. Then
you have law courts and you have the police. And if people are found to have breached conditions or committed crimes, for example, and have no right to be here, then the police arrest those people and they are put on planes and taken out of the country.
But that's what ICE are the police.
That's what ICE doing.
We don't have a police forces, Ben, that go around British cities, sort of picking up people who look vaguely brown or foreign, asking them to see their ID, and if they can't prove they're legally here, putting them in police vans, as happens in America. Or when ICE left, I think, a blind refugee in the freezing cold streets of Buffalo, where he couldn't find his way home and died. This is an inhuman paramilitary police force, and the sooner it's disbanded, the better.
Not going to be, so good luck to you.
Tiffany, thank you so much. Great seeing you. And I'll get the gloves ready to zap you next time I see you. Thank you, Tiffany Marie Brennan. Right, gbnews.com/your say. Let me know your thoughts. Let's get the thoughts of Ellie Hodges. Ellie, are you there? I'm sure you've been entertained listening to Jonathan next to you.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this proposal? Gloves, electric gloves from ICE.
Well, I actually don't think that it's necessary, and I think that it could end up being completely misused. You have lasers already in which you can, if you're going to get a taser, you get it out and you make a conscious decision to point it. If you have these kind of gloves, I can see them being misused. No one's necessarily calling for it either. It's not like loads of Americans are saying we really need these gloves. No one is saying that, and I just don't think that it's necessary. And, I'm all for controlling immigration, but I just don't think that this is necessary in any way, really.
Matt.
Well, they are necessary, I think, when you have assaults against ICE agents up over 1,000%, death threats against ICE agents up by about 8,000%. They're necessary. And the bottom line here is these kind of tactics are already used by law enforcement. They're non-lethal. But beyond even that, those who are here in the country illegally don't even need to interact with ICE. What they can choose to do is take the invitation by the Trump administration and self-deport. The Trump administration has even offered to pay for the flights, the transportation costs for those who will self-deport from the United States who are here illegally. The bottom line here is you have to have a secure border. And we should not even have to be removing these people from the country. But under President Biden, he allowed millions of people through a wide open border to cross in this country illegally. And many of these people are violent individuals. Just a few days ago, we saw a father in his 60s, killed by an illegal immigrant who, by the way, was released from jail by a Governor Newsom appointed judge. We saw in Minnesota, Governor Tim Walz released from jail somebody who's an illegal immigrant in this country who sexually assaulted a young girl. What you have here is President Trump trying to enforce the law. Congress passed these laws, the laws that President Trump is enacting. ICE is just enforcing them. If you don't like them, then come to the United States and run for Congress and change them. Until then, we need to enforce the law. What we don't need is Democrats or Democrat-appointed judges releasing illegal immigrants from jail so they can just go and commit heinous acts against the people of the United States. These gloves are going to protect ICE agents. They're already tactics that are used by law enforcement already.
Yeah, and I will say, people like who you mentioned, Jonathan, Alex Pretty, is that his name? He wouldn't have died that day if the local police weren't told to ignore or help, not help ICE agents. The week before, or even maybe a few days before, he was spitting and kicking an ICE agent's car, which in any other normal thinking state, he would have been arrested for by the local police and probably wouldn't have been on the scene that day. But because... Well, fine. I don't know how that case has ended up, but he was armed, and also he probably shouldn't have been there anyway because he would have been nicked previously for spitting and kicking a car.
You can't have it both ways, then.
David,
you can't defend the Second Amendment and then complain that he was armed.
Well, I'm just saying, if you go down to a protest where you're kicking at ICE agents' cars, spitting at them, and you're also armed, I play a lot of poker, I gamble a lot. Your chances of getting a little bit of trouble are probably higher than they would have previously.
Then you have freedom of assembly in the United States, and you have the right to protest. Those are constitutionally protected norms. You can't...
You don't have the right to dot on ICE officers and kick their car.
Protesting against a police officer isn't the same as asking to be killed or giving a police officer the right to kill you. And guess who's faced justice for that murder? Nobody. And who's faced justice for Renee Good's killing? Nobody. And nobody ever will be either.
How about justice for those who've been killed by illegal immigrants in this country?
So whataboutery won't work, Matt.
Jonathan?
Sorry.
How about justice for those who are launching attacks against ICE agents who are just men and women, in many cases fathers, husbands, mothers,
just
who
like
are
Renee Good and
trying to
Alex
just enforce the law? Congress passed these laws that the Trump administration is enforcing, and these illegal immigrants can choose to self-deport. If they don't, ICE is going to come find them and deport them. That's what
They're
we're doing in the
literally
United States.
picking up random Latinos, as you know perfectly well.
We're not picking up a rant. No one's picking up a rant. You know, Jonathan,
yes, they
you're
are.
They
literally are. I can't argue with you if you're not prepared to accept reality.
Hang on, Jonathan. Hang on, Jonathan. These are not random people. These are people who are in the country illegally. In many cases, came into this country under President Biden through a wide open border. The bottom line here is ICE is enforcing the law. The bottom line here is these illegal immigrants need to be removed from the country. President Trump campaigned on this. The American people voted for it. He's just enacting it.
It's about the tactics being deployed. You know perfectly well that ICE agents are picking up random Latinos and asking them to demonstrate they're legally in the United States. You know that perfectly well. It's been documented countless times. There was a campaign of terror in Minneapolis and other American blue cities, not red ones, blue ones, in order to frighten the populace and punish them for voting Democrat. We know perfectly well this is true. Why can't you at least own the actions of the government that you support?
There's not one single case where someone's randomly picked up and held in prison.
I've read hundreds.
Under ICE. Jonathan, these are people who are in the country illegally that ICE is going after.
No, ICE is trying to find out if they're in the country illegally and picking up random Latinos to see if they are. That is profoundly racist, profoundly un-American.
You keep saying random.
It's
you
people
keep saying random and they're not
It has been
random.
documented countless times in places like Minneapolis that people who look Latino are afraid to leave their houses because they are being rounded up and people are being asked to prove they're legally in the United States of America.
Jonathan, it's such nonsense.
It's not nonsense at all. You can deny it if you want because you're too cowardly to own the position.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, Jonathan, I don't result to name calling. Evidently, you do.
I'm not name calling. I'm saying that you can. This is what is actually happening, and you're not prepared to accept that.
Let me make this
so you have to deny it.
Let me just make one more point, and I think it's important. There are people who died in this country at the hands of illegal immigrants who killed them. Okay, the bottom line here is you have to secure the border. That's something President Biden did not do. It's something President Trump campaigned on. He told the voters what he would do. He would secure the border and deport people around the country illegally. And these gloves are non-lethal, and they're used to protect ICE agents who are putting their lives on the line to protect our country. That's what this is all about.
Jonathan, when did you last come to America?
I was there last year.
Okay. And you saw, I'm just wondering where you get this information from, this kind of like narrative that they're rounding hundreds of people up. As I said, I've been out with ICE. I live here in America. I'm not saying it doesn't happen maybe once or twice, but to say that their mission is to go out and just pick up anybody who's got brown skin, it's absolute nonsense, Jonathan. It's BS.
But I would also say,
I don't want to tell you,
listen to the voices.
I have access to the media. I've read many reports about this happening. I've heard of people who it's happened to. I don't know what else to tell you. Clearly, I'm not in Minneapolis. Right. I haven't seen it firsthand, but that doesn't stop us commenting, as you know perfectly well.
David?
Listen to the voices of community leaders in places like Minneapolis and after a recent incident in Maine and other parts of the country. They do describe how ICE has terrorized them and instilled fear in their community and how they've had to band together to deal with that. So with these gloves, I'd like to keep an open mind. If there is evidence that using these gloves would actually reduce the use of guns and tasers, then maybe, just maybe, but I have to say, based on ICE's record so far, including the cases of Renee Good and Alex Pretty, I remain skeptical. I fear they would be quickly abused.
It says, while the items are marketed as non-lethal and safe for the heart, a pending lawsuit alleges a 43-year-old man died in 2024 after being shot 27 times with the gloves. And 13 more times by a taser. When you throw in the taser 13 times, it kind of muddies the waters. How can you just blame the gloves? There we go. Right, gbnews.com/your say. Ellie, any last thoughts? Were you about to say something? Oh, sorry, Ellie, we've moved on. Apologies. Right, gbnews.com/your say. Still ahead on The Late Show Live tonight.
With today's guilty plea, Mr. Mangione has accepted full responsibility for the death of Brian Thompson.
Mangione has admitted killing healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, so why are fans, mostly leftist women for some reason, still cheering him on? This is The Late Show Live. Back in a sec. But first, emergency wildfire phone alerts have been sent to millions of people all across England and Wales, maybe you earlier today, warning them not to light anything that could spark a fire. The government sent the alert earlier this evening, which began appearing on mobile devices from 7 p.m. It warned people not to use barbecues, campfires and fireworks, and recipients have also been urged to report fires immediately to 999. It comes, of course, after the latest fires in, Stourbridge yesterday in the Black Country was pretty bad. The Prime Minister has urged people to take the emergency alert seriously, and it comes amid a package of measures set out by Andy Burnham to respond to devastating wildfires following a COBRA meeting on Wednesday. The PM also described Britain as a tinderbox after visiting the fire-hit area this afternoon.
Please, everybody, take the greatest of care. In fact, don't light anything in an outdoor space right now. Britain is a tinderbox right now. And please just have that in your mind. We're going to go into the rest of a weekend that is a difficult weekend. This is not over by any means. We've got 37 fires smouldering around the country, so it could be more. So please bear that in mind at all times. We've seen the reaction of the public here in Stourbridge. It's unbelievable, by the way. The rescue centre, the things that they brought in. The public are brilliant. People are great. They come out and they support each other. Just that one person who doesn't think, lets everybody down. Please don't do it.
Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Let's start with London, shall we? Bearing in mind Jonathan and Ellie probably got this alert on their phone. Ellie, did you get this alert on your phone? What was it like? Were you scared? Were you shocked out of your seat? And were you cursing the authoritarian government?
Well, I thought there was a nuclear bomb going off or something. I looked outside my window going, what the hell is going on? I mean, I was actually having a nap just before coming on here, actually, to make sure that I was all ready and raring to go today. And this alarm just goes off at full volume. I was, what on earth is going on? And the alert was just saying there might be some wildfires. It's like, OK, right. Oh, God, not the sound again. It's horrible. It's horrible. And it needs to be a bit of a nicer sound. And then it went off again on my way here. I'm like, why is it still going? I think I've got the gist of it now.
Oh, it went off twice, did it, Ellie? So you woke up from a nap and then it played again later on?
Yeah.
Why did they do it twice?
Mine went off twice. I was with a friend for dinner. His phone went off twice as well. I was literally just driving in my car, playing some music, having a great old time, and then suddenly the music stops and this sort of this horrible Dalek sound comes on, and I was like, almost had a heart attack and looked, and it was telling me not to light any disposable barbecues this weekend. But okay, I wasn't planning to do that anyway, but I'm glad that we all know.
Yeah, I have been pretty sad watching the wildfires in Stourbridge and so on. I mean, it looks awful. People's homes are literally being gutted. But, I mean, David, would we get this kind of thing here? There's wildfires all across the country. I was driving back through North Carolina the other day, and the thick smoke in North Carolina and DC from the Canadian wildfires was pretty visible. You could smell it as well from Canada. But we didn't get anything on our phone warning us to stay inside, did we?
Yeah, it's obviously a vast country. I suspect that's the kind of thing that would happen on a state-by-state level. I'm trying to remember, perhaps there were some sort of alerts that went off with those huge wildfires in California a year or two ago. The Canadian fires have certainly been an issue for us, and sometimes you get warnings by other means about poor air conditioning, poor quality of air, trying to stay healthy with that. And of course, Donald Trump hasn't been able to resist having a dig at Canada over that. But I think his critics would say he is avoiding the fundamental issue here, which is the climate crisis and US policies which include use of fossil fuels, and now of course massive building of data centers which are doing absolutely nothing to help.
Very water intensive, those data centers. Isn't it the case though, David, or maybe Matt, most of these wildfires are all arsonists? I mean, I think they've been arrested in Stourbridge for starters.
Well, the one in California last year that David was mentioning, that was started by a human being. Ironically, sadly, he was inspired by Mangione to light that fire. My understanding is he did it because he was upset with wealth, rich people, etc. But the bottom line here is it's one thing to alert citizens, it's another thing to take action. And last year in California, we saw the government not take the proper action to protect the citizens in California with those fires. You saw, for example, the mayor of LA, Karen Bass, who was out of the country during the time. You saw that there were challenges with getting the proper water supply to put out these fires. The rebuilding after the fires was just a disaster. It was a real sad situation there in California for the people, residents of California. So one thing to alert people, it's another thing to take action. That's what leadership is all about. There's a lack of that in California, sadly, during those fires.
Has somebody started hoovering, or was that another kind of alert? What is that? Is that in London, Ellie? Is that?
I think it's just the aircon.
Well, at least you've got aircon. Lots of comments on yours say, Linda said, has this turned into the List show? They think you're getting too much airtime to rant, Jonathan. What's your plea?
Not guilty. I wish it was, Ben.
Not guilty. Somebody else said mine came off too. I don't know if you read your say, Jonathan. Somebody else said mine went off and said migrants invading, take care.
Okay.
No, not very funny. All right. And somebody else said Ben, those alarms were unnecessary. I was visiting my poorly husband on a cardiac ward of all places. Oh, goodness me. When this horrendous alarm went off on many of the staff's phones, cardiac ward of all places, it nearly killed some. That sounds serious. Yeah, there's a decent point there, Ellie. Nobody's expecting this to come. And you could be in a funeral. I don't know.
I think
it seems a bit much.
My main issue here is there'll be lots of women who are, in households where there's domestic abuse going on, for example, and they might have somehow managed to get a secret phone that they're being able to contact people with, and this is going off at full blast. I mean, it could end really, really badly for some women, and anyone that's in these situations where they're not really meant to have a phone or something and it goes off. And there needs to be some serious kind of steps put in place before, if we actually go forward with these alerts and how often they will be, because it is just really annoying and it's just unnecessary, I think. And also, I mean, as you said, the alerts were going off about the wildfires. Could there not be a situation where it just goes off in areas where there is a wildfire happening near you or something like that, instead of just going off nationally?
Yeah, that's a really good point that you made about the women, by the way. And the other point, because my phone, for example, is on silent, and I still heard the alarm. So I don't know what the government has actually done on this, because I know the questions were raised about this when we had the nationwide tests a couple of years back about how the government would avoid it hitting sort of the phones of people who didn't want their phones to be discovered, and I don't know what the result of that was, but I really hope that no one came to any harm as a result of it tonight, obviously.
No, it's a great point, Ellie. Really good point. Yeah, I mean, in all aspects of life, I wish the government would just bog off, actually, and just, leave.
Well, I mean, but at the same time, it is the government's prime duty is to keep us safe and to keep the country safe. And
they could start with the channel. They could start with the borders on the south coast of England and stop 70,000 migrants coming in. Where's the alerts for that?
Well, enough alerts, just take action. That's the thing that people want.
I mean, this alert didn't actually I don't think it actually made anyone more safe by telling people, oh, don't do this with barbecues, etc.
Well, you never know. Some people might not have known. I don't know. It's good to educate people, but maybe this wasn't the right way to do it.
Yeah.
OK, right. Still ahead on The Late Show Live this evening, extraordinary intelligence is reportedly warning of Iranian plots to shoot, stab or even bring down the president's plane in various assassination attempts. I'll bring you the full details very shortly, but before that, first tonight...
With today's guilty plea, Mr. Mangione has accepted full responsibility for the death of Brian Thompson.
Big breaking news from New York City today. Luigi Mangione has admitted killing healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. So why are fans, particularly women of the left, still cheering him on, writing to him in prison, trying to start relationships with him? This is The Late Show Live. Here's your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following another very warm, uncomfortable night for sleeping. It's a humid start to the weekend, but cooler air is on the way. First things first, some showers and thunderstorms to clear eastwards. Then, for much of the UK, it's a dry Saturday. A bit more cloud in the sky for many, but still some sunshine. Now, the one exception, the north and west of Scotland, where showers will rattle through one after the other into the afternoon. Brisk breeze here and feeling on the cool side. Further south, we've still got temperatures widely in the mid-20s and that humid feel, with temperatures reaching 29 or 30 Celsius in the extreme southeast. That's where the heat lingers. But that heat is clearing. It could spark the odd shower into the evening. Otherwise, it's simply a dry Saturday for many places. Sunny spells continuing into the evening. Warm but not oppressively hot. And this fresher feel for many northern and western parts of the UK in particular. A lot of cloud for Northern Ireland into Scotland. We've still got those showers coming and going for the north of Scotland primarily. And they'll continue overnight. But further west, there's another system knocking on the door. That's going to bring thickening cloud into Northern Ireland, western Scotland, eventually Irish sea coast, and some dribs and drabs of mostly light rain. So not a soaking, but certainly more mixed by the start of Sunday. Another warm night to come towards the southeast, much cooler towards the northwest. And we do have this less humid air making inroads from the northwest to the southeast throughout the weekend, so gradually becoming less humid and feeling a little fresher, but still some warmth coming through with sunny spells for many parts of the south of the UK. No meaningful rain in the south this weekend, but there is a chance of some rain at least in the south middle of next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
All right, GB News alert this hour. Luigi Mangione has pleaded guilty to 2 federal stalking charges over the killing of United Healthcare Chief Executive Brian Thompson. It happened in New York City in 2024. The 28-year-old told a Manhattan court, "I shot Mr. Thompson and he died," admitting he'd researched the event, obtained its location by posing as an investor, and used a 3D printed gun fitted with a silencer. With no plea agreement, prosecutors say they'll seek a life sentence, but Mangione's lawyers have also moved to dismiss the separate state murder case on double jeopardy grounds.
Today is a solemn and significant day. With today's guilty plea, Mr. Mangione has accepted full responsibility for the death of Brian Thompson, arising from the events of December 4th, 2024, outside of the United Healthcare Investor Conference here in Midtown Manhattan. It was a single tragic event, yet he's being prosecuted twice for the same conduct. As Luigi explained in court today, he endured years of severe, debilitating pain following a broken back while struggling to navigate our healthcare and health insurance systems. Like the thousands of people who've reached out since this tragedy to share their own experiences, he believed that the system had failed him and destroyed his life. Despite this being a single isolated event, Mr. Mangione has been unfairly treated since the outset in every way and has successfully fought off terrorism charges and the death penalty, while also fighting at the same time 2 simultaneous prosecutions in 2 jurisdictions who were trying to punish him twice for the exact conduct. He's been treated differently from every other defendant charged with this offense in New York. However, thankfully, New York law does not allow this. New York law does not permit a person to be prosecuted and punished twice for the exact same crime under a statute that governs successive prosecutions. It's also known as the double jeopardy law. Today's guilty plea triggers this statute, and we just filed our motion in state court explaining why the state charges must be dismissed under New York's double jeopardy protections.
I'm joined by former New York City Police Chief John Chell and former FBI agent James Hamilton. Good evening, chaps. Thanks for your company. John, I'll start with you. Let's just get the housekeeping of the legalities underway. There's two separate cases here, federal and state. He pled today to a charge of stalking, which resulted in death, as a federal charge, and his lawyers are now saying, well, now that's happened, he can't be prosecuted or gone after by the state of New York because it would invoke double jeopardy, which is against the US Constitution. Is that right?
That's the way it looks like they're heading, and he took a choice. Looks like they go to federal prison rather state prison. But I gotta tell you, listening to his statements, it sounds like he was a victim of all this. I mean, terrible.
Oh, yeah.
We're supposed to feel bad for him. He stalked a father, a businessman on the street, and executed him, and then had fun while he got caught. And we're supposed to feel bad for him. This man, I know there's laws, but he should be given the death penalty. Pull the lever. This is horrible. And to his fan base out there that was rooting him on, what are we talking about? What are we doing here? So hopefully he never sees the light of day, and that family can get some closure in their life. And just a great job to the New York City Police Department detectives and to the...
It warrants killing an innocent person by shooting him in the back. I mean, that's where we are in this country. That's kind of their thinking. Obviously, it's barbaric. And I'm glad to see that, we have a guilty plea here, and, hopefully he goes to prison for a long, long period of time.
James, have you got any thoughts about those people who do, again, I'll say predominantly women on the left, who are writing to Luigi Mangione in prison? Some people are asking to marry him. They're trying to spark romantic relationships. We actually see it. It's a phenomenon with other serial killers and so on. This kind of thing happens. But they say that Luigi is good looking. He's the poster boy for anti-establishment. That's why he gunned down a healthcare provider CEO. What is the psychology, do you reckon, James, behind this wave of adoration for him?
Oh, this has been around for a long period of time, and he's just taken, he's the latest one to take advantage of, this popularity that he's garnering through the crime. And, people are following this. It's not just the women you're mentioning, they think he's cute. They think he's, a quote unquote hero. But young men are seeing this and they're following the exact same thing. They're seeing this and saying, yeah, I can be like him and I can get some popularity. This is how pathetic it's gotten in this country and how sad some of these folks are that, hey, I'm just going to go kill a guy and, hopefully it'll get me a lot of attention and I'll be, kind of lauded over like this guy.
John, have you seen this kind of thing in your time as a New York City police chief?
For some cause and a barbaric act committed here on a father, on a neighbor, on a friend, because your back hurt. Nobody cares that your back hurt. Nobody cares. Get over it. Unbelievable. Yeah. The narrative in this is unbelievable in some corners.
There was a Free Luigi rally in Manhattan some months ago. There's been a organised support for his legal funds. I think a GoFundMe raised $500,000 in total before it was cancelled. And Luigi had so much fan mail in prison, apparently, that he had to ask the public to stop sending him more than 5 photos at a time. I mean, the whole thing's just nuts. James, last word to you on this. How do you think this is going to end up? Do you think the state charges will be dropped now because of double jeopardy and he'll get, life in prison with 40 years parole or something that's been spoken about?
Yeah, I think the state charge will get dropped. The federal system, we don't have parole, but I don't think life is a guarantee here. I feel like this judge is probably going to give him 45 to 50, and this guy's going to get out. That's just my belief. That's what I think is going to happen. And hey, don't forget that there was a New York Times poll on this deal right after this happened, and 40% of under 30-year-olds thought it was fine to kill Brian Thompson because he was involved with health care. That's shocking, and that's where we are in this country.
Yeah, wow. That's terrible. James, thank you so much. James Hamilton, John Chell as well. Appreciate you boys being on the show. Thank you very much. Let's get the thoughts of... let's move on, shall we? Still ahead, extraordinary intelligence is reportedly warning of Iranian plots to shoot, stab or even bring down the president's plane. I'll bring you all the details of that very shortly. This is The Late Show Live. Back in just a tick. Right, quick look at the papers tomorrow, starting with this from The Times, which is reporting 2 former army bases in which the government plans to house thousands of asylum seekers are both within a mile of primary schools. Ministers plan to convert disused military sites in Oxfordshire, North Yorkshire and Suffolk into asylum accommodation to reduce the government's reliance on hotels. That's despite the Home Office guidance that asylum accommodation should not be near nurseries or indeed schools. This week, Andy Burnham defended the plans, saying that people in more affluent areas of the UK must play their part. I mean, what a joke that was. Up to 1,200 male asylum seekers may move into a former flight training school in Linton-on-Ouse in North Yorkshire, creating a ratio, you get this, of 6 men to each woman in the 600-person village. What could go wrong? 6 men to each woman in the 600-person village. Primary school, nursery and play area lie less than a mile away from RAF Linton-on-Ouse. Let's get the thoughts of Ellie Hodges in London and Jonathan Liss, and indeed my panel here in DC, Matt Terrell and David Smith. Ellie, I posted on X when Andy Burnham said that all the middle-class areas will have to take their fair share. I said, OK, Prime Minister, you lead by example. Either you take 1 or 2 in your home or open an asylum camp 20 yards from your front door.
Yeah, I mean, it's just completely flawed, this whole idea of having to put all of these migrants into middle-class areas. And by no means am I saying, oh, they should only be in working-class areas. I'm not saying that at all. But the point, the way to fix the problem of illegal immigration isn't just moving them into different places. It's just by deporting people who shouldn't be here in the first place. And I think that this is just a really bizarre way to go about things, and it's not actually going to please anyone.
Yeah, I mean, good point. I say all the time, Jonathan, that all this talk about should they be in hotels, should they be in HMOs, how much spending money should they have? Should they be detained? Should they be allowed to walk around? It's all a stupid, inane, red herring conversation because they shouldn't be here in the first place, Jonathan.
Well, Ben, as we've discussed many times, claiming asylum is an internationally recognised human right. It is not a crime to claim asylum. Britain Britain will have to deal with asylum claims when they are made, unless Britain is wanting to leave the International Convention on Refugees, for example, and say that no one can claim asylum, which will be a grave precedent, which is basically saying that Britain will will wash its hands of the worldwide asylum regime and not take refugees from anywhere at any time. That, I think, would be a grave mistake, and other countries would follow, and the catastrophe would follow, in which people would either be internally displaced or flock to the nearest country, which already takes the burden. So what we have to deal with is accept that people will claim asylum in this country, and then speed up the process by which those claims are determined. And so people who obviously are granted asylum can have the right to settle here and to settle in society and be productive, constructive members of that society, or have that claim sort of declined and then be returned to
and
their
where do you think while they're waiting for their application to be approved or declined, where do you think they should be? Should they be in hotels? What's your thoughts on that?
No, I don't think they should be held in hotels. And the problem with hotels partly is that that is delivering massive profit to companies, to private companies, and we should do what we had sort of many years ago, which is to keep people in the community in small sort of communal HMOs. And
I actually think HMOs are in many ways worse than hotels, because if you have HMOs, I mean, I've spoke to people that I know personally who are living on a street. Suddenly they've had all of these men moved in opposite them. They're outdoors all of the time, making loads of noise. They have no idea why they're there. They haven't been told by the council that they're going to be moved there, and they're actually causing more disruption there than they are in hotels. At least when they're in hotels, they're kind of, where everyone is, they're all in one place. I think HMOs in many ways are much more dangerous.
Well, look, the point is that asylum seekers have a basic right to be fed and housed while their claims are being processed. They're not allowed to work. Other countries do allow them to work, in which they can start earning their own keep, but we don't allow that in this country. So we have to feed them because they can't just starve.
Well, we're more than just feeding them and watering them. They're given bus passes, they're given spending money, they're allowed to roam the streets of Great Britain and do what they want. Let me ask you, Jonathan, how many... Well, yeah, thank goodness. Why should they be allowed to work?
Well, because if they work, then they can also pay taxes. We don't know who they are, where they're from. You want to stick them in a care home with your granny. You don't know who they are, Jonathan, or what their background is. Why should they be able to work? Ben, Nick, as I just pointed out, We have
No, answer the question. Why should they be allowed to work? You don't know who they are, where they're from, what their intentions are, what their backgrounds are. Why should they be allowed to work?
Because you complain when taxpayers' money is being given to house them and feed them, and then you complain when they're given the right to actually feed themselves and put some money back into the exchequer by paying tax.
I think the point is you're kind of accepting them as then part of your society when you start allowing them to work. It's not like they're just here for a short period of time. You're letting them work. And why should people be able to work illegally when we already have job shortages in this country?
Wouldn't be illegal. It would be legal because
but they're in the country illegally.
Okay,
that's the point.
But they're not in the country illegally. If they're claiming asylum, that is not a crime. They might have entered illegally because we don't allow safe and legal routes in this country. But they're allowed to claim asylum, and other countries do exactly this. They allow them to stop working immediately while their claims are being processed.
So what we've learned from Jonathan tonight is there's no such thing as illegal immigration, and also you shouldn't deport anybody who came here
I said
illegally.
That obviously people will come here illegally, but that people are not illegal then. You can come here illegally, but you are not illegal as a person.
Illegal.
And claiming asylum is legal.
They're illegal migrants.
Not everyone will be granted asylum, but claiming asylum is legal.
Let me tell you now, I'd say the 200,000 illegal migrants who have come to the UK since 2018, I would say probably they'd be very lucky to get double-digit genuine asylum claims. I think the rest of them are blagging. Matt, yours take?
Well, we're talking about why we should not allow illegal immigrants to work. The reason why, I mean, just take a look at the United States. Under President Trump, over 1 million illegal immigrants have been removed from the workforce. What you've seen is wages go up for citizens of the United States. Because of that is one of the many reasons why you've seen that those wages go up, among other reasons. But the bottom line here is that these people should not be in the UK. And the bottom line here is the taxpayers should not be funding them. And beyond that, the UK just can't afford this. They're trillions in debt. And all at the same time, you're doing things like having challenges like building new prisons. I saw a report come out a couple of weeks ago that up to 6,000 prisoners may be released from prisons in the UK because of the fact that you can't build new prisons. The bottom line here is the UK taxpayers don't deserve this. They should not have to be picking up the cost for people who are illegal in your country. And there is a national security risk to this. You do not know who these people are, and you're putting them right in communities where people don't feel safe. And furthermore, I'll just say this. There's great hypocrisy here. I saw it with the coverage earlier today. A politician in the UK who was all for moving these illegal immigrants into these communities. And then when they were coming to her community, she was against it. The bottom line here is that politicians
Green Party MP
being extremely hypocritical on this, and it's unfair to the people of the UK. They don't deserve this. They deserve a secure border. Get these people out of the country.
But just to reiterate Jonathan's point, there's a difference between illegal immigrants and people seeking asylum, which is a right, which is legally recognised. Their cases should be heard speedily. But the other point you make about geography and class, I find interesting. I remember in the US, of course, a few years ago, Republican governors started moving immigrants to democratic cities and communities.
Martha's Vineyard.
Exactly. See how that went down. And so just as a social experiment, it'll be fascinating to see here if more individuals are moved to liberal, progressive parts of Britain. Will people still stick to their principles of believing in this, or will we suddenly get some NIMBYism?
Oh, yeah, complete NIMBYism. Matt mentioned it there with the Green Party. What's her name? Rachel, I've forgotten her surname. Ellie can correct me. Ellie, what was that with Rachel and the Green Party? Very quickly.
Sorry, could you just repeat that?
There was a Green Party, Rachel, what's her name, Millward, who was basically saying that everybody should take asylum seekers, and then as soon as there was a plan for an asylum camp near her constituency or near her area, she started kicking off about it. Deputy Leader of the Green Party, Rachel Millward.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely outrageous, and you see this all the time. It's just pure hypocrisy, and it's because they want to take this more high ground all the time of saying, we're so caring, we're so supportive, let's let everyone in. But then when they actually see it play out, then they go, actually, hold on, never mind. And we see this across the left all the time. I'm not saying it doesn't happen on the right, but it definitely happens more on the left. And you see this with the VAT on private schools, for example. We have people that are in the cabinet moaning about that whilst they're sending their own kids to private school.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. More coming up on The Late Show Live in the next hour, including this.
The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be. I mean, they will pay a very heavy price.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following another very warm, uncomfortable night for sleeping. It's a humid start to the weekend, but cooler air is on the way. First things first, some showers and thunderstorms to clear eastwards. Then, for much of the UK, it's a dry Saturday. A bit more cloud in the sky for many, but still some sunshine. Now, the one exception, the north and west of Scotland, where showers will rattle through one after the other into the afternoon. Brisk breeze here and feeling on the cool side. Further south, we've still got temperatures widely in the mid-20s and that humid feel, with temperatures reaching 29 or 30 Celsius in the extreme southeast. That's where the heat lingers. But that heat is clearing. It could spark the odd shower into the evening. Otherwise, it's simply a dry Saturday for many places. Sunny spells continuing into the evening. Warm but not oppressively hot. And this fresher feel for many northern and western parts of the UK in particular. A lot of cloud for Northern Ireland into Scotland. We've still got those showers coming and going for the north of Scotland primarily. And they'll continue overnight. But further west, there's another system knocking on the door. That's going to bring thickening cloud into Northern Ireland, western Scotland, eventually Irish sea coast, and some dribs and drabs of mostly light rain. So not a soaking, but certainly more mixed by the start of Sunday. Another warm night to come towards the southeast, much cooler towards the northwest. And we do have this less humid air making inroads from the northwest to the southeast throughout the weekend, so gradually becoming less humid and feeling a little fresher, but still some warmth coming through with sunny spells for many parts of the south of the UK. No meaningful rain in the south this weekend, but there is a chance of some rain at least in the south middle of next week.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things up the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain. He can say whatever he wants. A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there.
With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Live from Washington, D.C. This is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. Subpoena showdown. President Trump sued the BBC. Now the broadcaster wants testimony and documents from his own children. Has this legal war just turned nasty? Well, political strategist Thomas Corbett-Dillon joined me earlier.
All this is doing is just annoying the Trump family, annoying the president. There is now no chance that he is going to wrap this case up. And this idea that there is anything that the family have to say about this has already been through. Joe Biden's Justice Department already went after the president.
Elsewhere, shock tactics. ICE agents in America could soon wear patrol gloves capable of delivering electric shocks as they ramp up deportations of illegals. Would you want officers using them? Well, podcast host Tiffany Marie Brannan told me why some Republicans support the move.
Assaults against ICE agents, the physical assaults are up 1,300%. Death threats are up 8,000%, and vehicular attacks are up 3,200%. So they have really been pushed out into this sort of like, well, we have to come up with something new. Everyone is, ranting and raving anytime they have to pull a gun out.
Court confession in
today's guilty plea. Mr. Mangione has accepted full responsibility for the death of Brian Thompson.
And target Trump. Extraordinary intelligence is reportedly warning of Iranian plots to shoot, stab, or even bring down the president's plane. Just how serious are those threats? And elsewhere, drill baby drill abroad. After 60 years in the North Sea, BP is looking to Venezuela for its future instead. Has Burnham driven British energy out of Britain?
He did say one very good thing. He said he's going to open up North Sea oil.
Morning to you, hope you're well. I'm Ben Leo and this is The Late Show Live. Good morning, thank you for joining The Late Show Live. Joining me in Washington DC this evening is my panel. We have Washington Bureau Chief at The Guardian, David Smith, former Chief of Staff to Marco Rubio, Matt Terrell, and in London, political commentators Jonathan Liss and Ellie Hodges. Hello you two, thank you once again for your company. Right, first let's cross to the GB newsroom in London with Sophia Wensler.
That breaking news, Jason Arday, the former University of Cambridge professor, has been found dead. Mr. Arday was found unresponsive at an address in Battersea in South London this afternoon, according to the Metropolitan Police. A spokesman for the Met Police said officers were called by the London Ambulance Service at 3:12 p.m. today, and sadly a 41-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene. His next of kin have been informed and are being supported by officers. At this time, his death is being treated as unexpected, but is not believed to be suspicious. The case is being investigated by officers from the Met's Central South Command Unit. A file will be prepared for the coroner. It comes after Mr. Arday resigned as Professor of Sociology of Education at the University of Cambridge on the 5th of August, citing the unrelenting level of public scrutiny following accusations of plagiarism. The University of Cambridge Vice-Chancellor Professor Deborah Prentice has said she was desperately saddened by the death, adding our heartfelt sympathies go to Jason Arday's family and friends at this incredibly difficult time.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Good morning to you. Let's move on to our main news this evening, which is Iran allegedly considered 3 chilling ways to assassinate President Trump. They thought they would shoot him with a sniper rifle, stab him in a crowd, or blast Air Force One out of the sky. That's according to Israeli intelligence, who reportedly issued repeated warnings that Tehran was actively hunting for an opportunity to kill the president in revenge for the 2020 elimination of Iranian terror chief Qasem Soleimani. So the most extraordinary alert came before July's NATO summit in Turkey. We've spoken a lot about it in the past couple of days. Israeli officials warned that Iran could target Air Force One with a shoulder-launched missile, which prompted the Secret Service at the time on the ground in Ankara to carry out an elaborate mid-air deception and secretly move the president onto another aircraft for his journey home. American intelligence has not corroborated some of Israel's specific claims, but Turkish officials also say they found no evidence of the alleged missile plot. However, I will say, let's speak to senior Iran analyst at Dawn, Omid Mamarian. Omid, President Trump has pretty much said in the last couple of days, in reference to this Turkey plot and the fact he was bundled into a catering van and put into another military aircraft, he has said, well, yeah, something happened. Iran want me dead in revenge for killing Soleimani in 2020.
Thanks for having me on. Listen, there is a profound difference between taking the Iranian threats very seriously and allowing poorly corroborated Israeli intelligence to drive U.S. Foreign policy decision-making. Both the CIA and the Turkish intelligence, they have said they have no evidence to corroborate on the Israeli claim that Iranians are going to assassinate President Trump. And in the past few months, we have seen the CIA and other American intelligence organizations, they have said, they have low confidence to Israeli claims on, for example, when it comes to Iran's nuclear program, and that the danger is very imminent. So we have that, and we have this recent incident that based on the Israeli intelligence, that even Israelis are saying that they didn't have time to vet the information to make sure that's credible, but they shared with the U.S. intelligence anyway that the threat was credible. And I think overall it's a very embarrassing situation for the president, and the Secret Service had to act on it and basically go with this option of this deception plan.
Iran have said themselves, the IRGC said in 2023, they released a list of around 90-odd Americans who they blamed for the death of Soleimani, including, of course, President Trump. So Iran has said themselves that he is on a kill list. So, I mean, that's not a mystery, is it? They want to kill, they want to eliminate President Trump as he did Qasem Soleimani, no?
Absolutely. They have threatened President Trump when it comes to the rhetoric on Friday prayers. Many imams, many of the supporters of the regime have talked about the revenge. But when it comes to the intelligence, we have there are different levels to intelligence, where we have intel gathering, we have rhetorical threats, we have the operational level and execution. We do not know at what level this threat was. So far, over the past year, we have seen that the U.S. intelligence has not taken these threats seriously. They might be at the level of information gathering or just rhetorical. So that's why they have not taken these threats seriously, mainly because they understand the consequences of basically taking these threats to action. But overall, from all the reportings we have seen over the past few days, there is little confidence in the Israeli intelligence that comes about threats against President Trump. And the only reason is, I think one of the main reasons is that Israel is the most beneficial party to this type of intelligence. Israelis have been pushing for the renewal of the war with Iran, and they understand that how they can bruise the ego of President Trump, and by raising this type of claims.
Okay.
And I think the new round of claims was in particular received very poorly by the U.S. intelligence.
Okay. Omid, just to clarify before I let you go, are you saying Mossad, Israeli intelligence, is lying to bounce President Trump into further war and violence with Iran? Is that what you're saying?
I do not know about lying or not lying, but even Israelis have said that they did not vet the information, the intel that they share with the U.S. intelligence. So I think there is something wrong with this type of intelligence sharing.
OK. Thank you, Omid. Appreciate it. Omid Mamarian, senior Iran analyst at Dawn. Let's get the thoughts on my panel here in DC and London. Matt, I'll start with you. You're listening to what Omid had to say there. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, with all due respect to him, I mean, look, the reality is Iran has been clear that they want to kill President Trump. That's the bottom line here. If they had the chance to kill President Trump, they would. And they view it as retaliation for him taking out their leadership. So the truth is Iran wants to see President Trump gone. President Trump isn't going anywhere. He's going to continue to wage this war. He's going to win this war. But just zooming out beyond Iran, the Secret Service has seen massive threats against President Trump. This year alone, the Secret Service has seen over 10,000 cases that they've been investigating in terms of potential attacks against President Trump and other protectees in the administration. It's a 40% increase. The truth is you've seen actual attacks against President Trump. We saw it at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We saw it in Butler, Pennsylvania. The truth is,
golf course.
On his golf course, time and again, we've seen President Trump under attack. Obviously, Iran would do it if they could, and thankfully the Secret Service has taken the appropriate actions to protect the president. We saw them do that recently with respect to Air Force One. Their job is to protect President Trump, and they will override President Trump if they need to protect him. They even did that at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He wanted to go back out there and give the speech.
Yeah.
The Secret Service told him no. Their job is to protect the president. They've got the best intelligence here, along with U.S. intelligence. They're going to continue to protect President Trump, and we appreciate that.
Matt, can I ask you, as a former staffer for Chief of Staff for Rubio, is that correct, on his campaign? Yep. What do you make of this conversation about the fact that President Trump left Air Force One, left a lot of his staff on that plane, the majority of his staff, Stephen Chung, I don't think Caroline Levitt was there. Was she there, as far as you know? Yeah. Anyway, loads of his staff were on the plane. All the journalists were there on the plane. I don't expect Trump to give journalists the heads up. But what do you make of the fact that he left his staff on that plane in light of a missile threat from Iran, and he snuck off back to the UK in a different plane?
Well, I'll let the Secret Service speak to that. Here's my interpretation, just my guess on it. I think the Secret Service saw something come in terms of a potential threat, just wanted to get the president out of harm's way. The plane itself, my understanding, was secure. It was a secure plane. You had, in fact, fighter jets escorting the plane back home. So,
would you be miffed if Rubio was president and you were his chief of staff and you were left on that plane and he didn't tell you?
I would be comfortable with all those people being on the plane. I would fly on the plane. I'd be comfortable doing that. I trust our Secret Service. I trust U.S. intelligence. And look, the bottom line here, this was not President Trump's decision. I see a lot of Democrats in particular attacking President Trump over this. I'm telling you right now, the Secret Service will override the president. They did that with President Bush on 9/11. President Bush wanted to go back to Washington right away. Yeah. The Secret Service overrode that. They will override a U.S. president to protect a U.S. president. I would feel comfortable flying an Air Force One in that case. I think President Trump obviously was out of his hands in terms of the decision there. But look, it's up to the Secret Service to make these decisions. I go back to, you've seen a 40% increase this year compared to last year in terms of potential threats. You got to take that seriously.
Yeah, David, I've got no problem with that. I mean, he's the president, and I've watched enough West Wing and sort of what's the other one on Netflix, Designated Survivor, to know that the president is top dog, and if it means your staff being sacrificed for the president, that's just how how it goes, unfortunately.
I mean, I've flown on Air Force One a few times, so I try to imagine myself as one of those sacrificial lambs deemed expendable, as Air Force One was a potential target. I think still some questions about that, and also just the fact that reporters were misled here, and then in turn unwittingly misled the public. When Bill Clinton used a decoy plane in 2000, reporters were at least informed, and in this instance, Trump's the plane that he took, he had space. He could have taken some reporters, maybe taken their phones away, but they could have,
But how would they have got out? Because he was smuggled out in a catering van, so it kind of would have blown the transfer, wouldn't it?
Maybe they could have squeezed in that too, or I don't know. But certainly when he landed, this story could have been told instead of basically a lie being perpetuated until the Washington Post revealed it. And I think Trump is lucky that Saturday Night Live, the other late night comedians, are off for the summer, so they're not able to really capture that image for now, at least in parody of him in a catering truck. But it's a strange situation. And just one final point. Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have been telling us for months that Iran is wiped out, it's annihilated, it's got almost no military capability and so on. And yet now we're hearing that it's got all these different methods of potentially assassinating the President of the United States. There seems to be something of a contradiction there.
Well, I think it's important to note this is a leak, though, just to be clear. So, I mean, I happen to think it was inappropriate for this to be leaked out. That's the key here. And I think that the Secret Service should not be announcing what their tactics are to protect the U.S. president. Some things need to be secretive when it comes to protecting the president. The bigger concern here is that there's a leak that should not be happening.
Yeah. Did you know, by the way, David, do you remember Jose Mourinho, the former Chelsea boss, did the same thing? He got smuggled out of the stadium at Stamford Bridge in a laundry basket because he was banned from the stadium. Anyway, I digress. Ellie, your take on this?
Well, of course, there are kind of arguments that this intelligence from Israel might not have been accurate. But the Secret Service are obviously, no matter... and also, I want to make a point here, that just because they have low confidence doesn't necessarily mean that it's false. And if I was, head of the Secret Service, I would still make sure that Trump isn't in that situation. So I'm glad that that did happen. And more generally, we are seeing threats to Trump's life all of the time. So I would have made this decision as well. And it'll be interesting to see if more information comes out about this, especially as you said, journalists were left on that plane. I think Caroline Leavitt was actually on that plane, amongst many others. So it'll be interesting to see what more comes out.
Yeah, I'll just clarify that. And there is a conversation, Ellie and Jonathan, about Caroline Leavitt's resignation, which was announced the day after this story came out, where apparently Trump had left all his staff on the plane. Again, Jonathan, I don't expect anything less. He's the president. Why would he tell his staff and the journos on board? You're the president. But yeah, what's your take, Jonathan?
Well, I think the whole thing throws into stark relief the outrageous decision to accept a jet from the government of Qatar without the necessary sort of security protocols which Air Force One has, not least, and then obviously to try and keep the plane afterwards, which is an act of rampant corruption. But just in terms of basic security, clearly the government of Qatar should not be providing the jet for the President of the United States. And obviously that, he came a cropper as a result of that when he had to leave that plane and go back to the old Air Force One. But in terms of what Israel's saying, clearly Israel has an ulterior motive because it's desperate for Trump to resume this war. Netanyahu is desperate for some good news in his re-election campaign. That hasn't been forthcoming so far. So you'd expect Israel to be putting out this intelligence. But on the other hand, you can understand why Iran might sort of want to have an opportunity to take out the president, given that he took out the Ayatollah at the beginning of the war, thinking it would be like a Venezuela-type strategy where you sort of decapitate the leader of the regime and everything follows. As we've found out, it has not been that easy, and it will not be that easy, and the United States is certainly not winning this war. So I don't know what's going on inside the Iranians, if they are actually planning it, but obviously the Israelis have an ulterior motive to tell that story, and clearly Trump needs to be protected, ideally with an American jet, not a Qatari one.
Yeah, well, I'll just clarify that. The jet he left in Ankara on the ground after the NATO summit wasn't the Qatari jet, which I had the privilege of checking out a few weeks ago. It was the old original Air Force One. Trump was smuggled onto another awaiting military plane. So the Qatari jet had nothing to do with it. That's the old Air Force One on your screen right now. There was a catering van which smuggled him off. The Qatari jet wasn't actually in action yet. It was ahead at RAF Mildenhall in Suffolk, so Secret Service could tour it. Anyway, that's a different conversation, that jet. Let me ask you very quickly, Jonathan, what do you make about the facts that, by the way, I agree with you on the Iran point, and you, David, as well. I think Trump has... I think he's cocked Iran up, and Matt will disagree with me on this. But what do you make of the fact that he did sacrifice, potentially, his staff and the reporters?
I expect nothing less from him, to be honest.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, it was the Secret Service who did it, and I don't think it's sacrificing anybody. I think they saw... I'm not in the Secret Service, but I suspect they saw a potential threat. The goal of the Secret Service then is to get the president out of harm's way. They did that. The plane had fighter jets escorting it home. Yeah. The bottom line here is I would have been very comfortable flying on that plane, going back home.
I don't blame him either. He's the president. David, what is he going to tell you on Air Force One? By the way, David Smith of The Guardian, by the way, the Iranians may blow up this plane because they want me.
It was a safe plane to fly back home.
Go on, last word.
Well, I mean, just to add to the confusion, a day or two later, Trump, and speaking to reporters, claimed that his plane was actually more dangerous than the Air Force One. So who knows what it means, and he does not seem to have coherent thinking about this.
Yeah.
But to that point,
or anything. Let's face it. Was last time Trump said something coherent about literally anything?
Yeah, but he kind of said this in joke, and he said, if I go, you all go. He said that on the plane to the press and other people, and there's a joking component to that, but there's a truth to that, right? He's the #1 target right now, particularly when it comes to Iran, but just in general. I go back to, we've seen cases skyrocket this year, according to the Secret Service, in terms of threats against President Trump. The truth is, it's a dangerous business, and obviously we want reporters, staff, the president safe. That's obviously the goal.
Yeah, and also look what's happening in the UK. Anne Widdecombe just slaughtered in her home. Case going through court now. Nigel Farage, victim of potential firebombing, the threats he gets day in, day out. Even journalists. I know loads of journalists. I got threats last year against my kids, threatening to kill my kids. Everybody gets threats. People are just mental these days. They've lost their minds. Everything's so polarised and toxic. And for some reason, particularly those on the left, think it's okay to deal with your opponents politically with violence.
No one thinks it's okay to deal with
from the right.
Then what an outrageous smear. No one on the left, no one credible on the left thinks political violence is acceptable in any circumstance. What credible mainstream left-wing figure has justified political violence? Name me one.
Jonathan, look at the campaign. Ellie, you all know this. That campaign on Twitter. What was it called? It was called something Smash.
Name me one credible left-wing
Smash?
figure who's endorsed political violence. You just said people on the left endorse it. Name me one credible mainstream left-wing figure who's endorsed it.
I think we need more people on the left to actually...
Hassan Piker.
There you go.
When has Hassan Piker endorsed political violence?
He said landlords should be murdered in the street. There you go. That's what, amongst the other litany of other things.
I haven't seen that. Look, I'm not following Hassan Piker very carefully.
Well,
clearly,
of course you haven't seen it.
No one should be subjected to murder, Ben. But to say that people on the left endorse political violence as a general rule is absolutely outrageous and not true.
Ellie?
Well, I think, more generally we are seeing an increase in political violence, and I think a lot of that is due to social media, especially young people. I mean, after we saw the shocking case of Charlie Kirk, I mean, there was just memes constantly going around on platforms like TikTok, for example, and people were just completely desensitized to it. And I think that we're just seeing more of that time and time again, and I think the Anne Widdecombe thing really hit home for a lot of people, where we realised, actually, we need to wake up and we need to stop this happening. And people, I understand your point, Jonathan, that we shouldn't generalise that all people on the left are in support of political violence, but we do need more people on the left to be calling it out. And I think that when Anne Widdecombe was murdered, we had a lot of people on the left starting their condolences with, I don't agree with her politically, but that's not necessary. Just say this is a horrible way for someone to die,
Everyone
and that's
said that.
it. Well, that's not true. That's not true. Loads of people were saying.
People were saying when they were talking about Anne Widdecombe's legacy that they disagreed vehemently with her views, and that's completely acceptable.
You don't need to say that.
There are two parts to it, though. Anne Widdecombe was murdered, and that's unequivocally a horrific thing. I call it out unreservedly, unequivocally. Yep. But at the same time, when a political figure dies, obviously you have obituaries, you have sort of evaluations of their career, and it would be completely remiss, and Widdecombe would have hated it for her career to be sort of sanitised or to be whitewashed or anything like that.
Yeah,
we need to sort of address what Widdecombe said, whether you like it or not, and have a robust discussion as she herself would have had. The fact that she was murdered is horrific, but it's also a separate point from that. And the difficulty with those when a politician is murdered is to have that conversation about political violence and to reject it unequivocally and to see what you can do to stop it in future.
Yeah, I agree.
While also to have a fair, reasoned, full and not sort of, politically correct or sanitised or whitewashed conversation about what that person actually stood for. I think that's completely legitimate.
But immediately after someone has just been murdered, calling out saying, 20 years ago they said this, how outrageous.
Right.
Come on.
And I agree with you, there is a balance to be struck, and in some cases that balance might not have been struck well. And I remember having a conversation in this very studio, Jonathan, about what to say about Widdecombe, and people were talking about Widdecombe's sort of legacy, and I was saying, maybe this is not the right time to have this conversation, but since we're having it, since you're asking me about it, then obviously I'll have to talk to you about it. And I disagreed vehemently with her views. I found her views very offensive. But that's not to say that I agree with how she died. I would wish it on my worst enemy how she died. It must be stopped. Jonathan, it is absolutely outrageous.
So Palestine Action advertised training days, and I've got the poster in front of me. I knew it existed because I've seen it before. They encouraged training days, encouraging potential members / terrorists to work out with a hammer instead of carrying flags. The training sessions took place after it emerged Widdicombe had died in an alleged hammer attack. It called for direct action and said, arms tired of waving flags, work out with a hammer. Direct action training available. If that is not,
it's just
if that's not approving, at least, of the way Widdicombe was killed.
Palestine Action, which has nothing to do with Widdicombe, Palestine Action is a terrorist organisation. I think that's completely wrong, by the way. But to say there's some sort of mainstream organisation on the left is absolutely garbage. It's like saying Hamas is as a mainstream organisation for Muslims in Britain. It's simply not true. Palestine Action, you can disagree with the prescription, but to say that they're mainstream is just nonsense.
All right. Well, I gave what you asked for. You said, give me an example of somebody on the left who advocates violence.
I said a mainstream, credible person on the left. Palestine Action is not mainstream, Ben. If I were to say that I supported Palestine Action, I'd be arrested. It's not mainstream.
Hassan Piker has around 30 million followers on social media. Charlie Kirk was slain by a leftist. President Trump was targeted by leftists.
Don't know. That person that's been accused of Charlie Kirk's murder is being tried, and we also will find out what his motivation is. But we do know there's a massive amount of political violence on the right as well. This idea that only the left is responsible for political violence is just a total lie. A Democratic person, the Democrat in the state House of Representatives in Minnesota was assassinated on her doorstep last year, and Trump laughed it off practically and offered no condolences, didn't even call the governor.
I think it was just very telling after Charlie Kirk's assassination how lots of people on the left responded. And this is more general because, I mean, I just remember the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated and I opened my social media and there was lots and lots of comments just saying he deserved this because of his political views, he deserved this. And I think that is more general to the left in that it does seem more acceptable, and I think that's a fair argument to make.
Simply not true. People didn't say that he deserved it. They said that he stood for things that were reprehensible.
They did say that, but
okay. Say this now. You are outright lying. I will debate you politically on all sorts of stuff. But when you say people didn't celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk, that is absolute BS.
I didn't say, obviously, some individuals
Well, you just said people didn't say that he deserved it, and they did.
The main people didn't do that. They said they disagreed. Mainstream people.
Jonathan,
obviously, there are some people on the internet who say all kinds of things, but I'm not speaking for every single person in the world. I'm saying that the mainstream discourse was that Charlie Kirk did not deserve to die. He certainly didn't deserve to die in the way that he did. But that doesn't mean that we have to sort of sanitise or whitewash the despicable things that he said when he was alive. That is what the mainstream consensus on the left was.
What did he say that was despicable? Come on, Jonathan.
I'm not going to go through it now. There are so many things.
Oh, come on, then. You just said it. You've just said it. So let's hear it, big man. What did he say that was despicable, Charlie Kirk?
Let's hear it, big man. What are you squaring up to have a fight now? Don't be so ridiculous, Ben. The things he said about Muslims all the time, the things he said about black people.
What's the most despicable thing that he said?
I don't have a list of things off the top of my head.
Well, if he's such an evil person, surely you know what he's done.
I didn't say he was an evil person. I'm not using words like that. I said that he said some disgraceful things while he was alive. He didn't deserve to die. I don't know why that's controversial. If you want, I can go through a list. I can Google some of the things that he said about sort of black people's intelligence, about Muslims, about sort of laughing about the response to what happened on the 7th of October for Palestinians, about sort of, laughing about sort of don't attack Jews or whatever. I can go through a list of those things, but I don't see why it's helpful because the bottom line is he didn't deserve to die. It's not a controversial point.
Right, if I could just add, over the last 10 years, I don't think we should forget that Donald Trump himself has fanned these flames. At rallies, he's encouraged his supporters to beat up protesters. He's half joked about police roughing up suspects. He's sent in ICE very aggressively to cities. Innocent people have died, and most notoriously, of course, he pardoned hundreds of people involved in the January 6th insurrection, some of whom were filmed beating up police officers, and the message he sent was, that's okay. So in an increasingly violent political culture, I think we have to remember it comes from the top. Trump has had a role in it.
OK, still ahead on The Late Show Live. Another top official in the White House has quit following Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. She's walked through the door. She'll be out at the end of the month, I believe. I'll reveal who else has left the White House in this apparent... Well, it's not an exodus, really, but yeah, let's call it an exodus for now and discuss it a bit more in just a second. But first, BP has secured a licence to explore a major gas field off Venezuela just 2 weeks after putting its North Sea oil and gas business up for sale. The energy giant says the North Sea no longer competes for investment. That's after the windfall tax added almost $400 million to its bill last year. The move also comes as Donald Trump talks up Venezuela's growing role in global energy supplies following the change of government in Caracas.
But, and how about Venezuela? Venezuela was a one-day war. And now we work great with them. We've taken in millions and millions of barrels of oil.
Matt Terrell, this isn't really good news for British jobs and the economy. So BP have left $400 million a year from the wealth tax, the windfall tax that was slapped on them. And now they're going to, obviously, Venezuela, where the United States has taken back their oil fields, which were swiped from them decades ago. And I think soon they'll be, well, repaired. Is that the right word? Or at least feasible for global export, because they're not, as far as I understand, I'm not an expert in the sort of oil and the process, but it's not the full deal in Venezuela.
Yeah, we can't blame BP for doing this. I mean, the truth is the UK has not provided a friendly business climate for BP to make investments there, to grow jobs there. It's one thing for Andy Burnham to allow existing licenses to take place, for example, in the North Sea, but he's not allowing for new licenses in the North Sea. You see how tax policy has been formed in the UK. And it's not just against companies like the BP, but you've also seen the UK push tax increases and taxes against tech companies, US tech companies. That's not the kind of policies you want to be promoting as a country if you want to be business friendly. So the bottom line here is the BP is going to Venezuela. It makes total sense. Obviously, you're seeing the expanded infrastructure there by US companies go in to that country. It's good for the people of Venezuela, good for the people of the United States, frankly, good for the people of the world. That's one of the many things that President Trump has done to reduce the cost of energy, particularly for U.S. citizens. That's a good thing for America, good thing for the world. Bottom line here is I think the UK needs to get its act together when it comes to trying to attract and retain U.S. companies in general in the UK. They haven't done that with BP. I think they're not doing a great job with tech companies across the board. They got to get it together.
David, do you think this will... I mean, first of all, do you think this excursion into Venezuela was all about oil, just taking back the oil fields, which they claim Caracas stole from the United States all those years ago?
I think, like the Iraq War, oil was probably one of the motivations, clearly, the official line was that Maduro was wanted on criminal charges and will now be brought to justice, and that US operation went relatively smoothly, of course it has now lulled Trump into a false sense of security, and he thought maybe Iran would be just as easy, and that has proved not to be the case. A story that's not getting enough attention, of course, is the knock-on effect in Cuba, which is really now struggling for energy supplies, suffering major power cuts. The last conversation I had with Senator Lindsey Graham before he died a few months ago was he felt Iran was going great and that Cuba will be next, and it will be a pretty straightforward operation for the US. So this Trump expansionist foreign policy in his second term seems to continue. Yeah, the CIA, I think, has warned the Trump administration that Cuba won't be anything like Venezuela, but we'll see. Slightly separate topic. Ellie, so BP, they'll partner two oil firms with close links to the Trump administration to develop the second phase of the Loran gas field in Venezuela. It's one of the first large-scale foreign investments in Venezuela since the US ousted Maduro in January. So they've got a license, BP, to develop the field alongside a Qatari company and will work alongside the overseas investment arm of the UAE's national oil company, run by the industry minister. So this is BP's first really sort of big venture into Venezuela, and they're ditching the North Sea in the process.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think this is just another example where it's just kind of embarrassing for us that they're turning away from us and going to Venezuela out of all places. And we've just got into a situation where we literally have our own oil and gas in the North Sea that we are quite literally not using while we are taking it away from Norway, who is out in the exact same sea as ours. I mean, it is just it's madness. And if we're going to be using oil and gas, which we are using, I'd rather we actually extract it from our own North Sea and create jobs and actually make our country flourish, and at the moment we're not doing that.
No, sorry, Karen.
Yeah, and I'd like to see more of that, because at the moment this is kind of just embarrassing, to be honest.
It's not. The problem is that if you have oil and gas companies exploiting the North Sea, that's just going into those private companies' hands. Obviously, those companies can be taxed by the UK government, but those companies can decide what they do with that oil and gas. What Norway did, which is a good example, in the 1980s, is to set up a sovereign wealth fund, which has allowed Norway to become one of the most prosperous countries in the world with the highest standard of living, because they actually decided that they were going to use their oil money for the benefit, heaven forbid, of the Norwegian people, rather than for a few oil and gas executives, as we did in this country under Thatcher and every Prime Minister since.
You sound a bit anti-capitalist
that's a mistake.
Jonathan.
But I don't think we should be using Venezuela as any kind of example, Ben, given that the United States now become basically a colony of the United States, and Trump has said to the victor the spoils, as though we're reverting to some kind of 19th century adventurism where you just have the right to sort of take the capital of leadership and steal that country's resources. That is not an example that any of us should be following.
Well, first of all, I'm glad to see the commies ousted in Venezuela. I think communists are the biggest threat to Western civilization going. So if that means Nicolas Maduro and his drug pushers across the Caribbean Sea have been ousted, fine. Also, have you seen the way Venezuelans have been living in the past couple of decades? Show me any communist country, Jonathan, that you sound like you admire.
I'm not defending Maduro. I'm saying that it was illegal to oust him, and it's illegal to steal Venezuela's resources for the profit of the United States. These are not controversial resources.
They were American. Hang on a minute, let me clarify to you. They were American oil fields which the Venezuelan state stole from America after the American private companies were ousted out by the state.
Venezuelan oil belongs to Venezuelan people, not US oil companies.
No, it doesn't. It was American oil fields. They were,
the
Venezuelan waters, they're Venezuela's, not America's.
Now it's going back to the people of Venezuela. Under the regime, it wasn't going to the people of Venezuela, Jonathan. So the bottom line here is the Trump administration has liberated this oil to get into the hands of the people of Venezuela. Oh, it's not going to his personal bank account, John. You know, I got to tell you, Jonathan, I've never been on TV with somebody who's put out so many lies. The bottom line here is you're entitled to your own opinion, not your own facts. You sit here and just make up
You can
things.
talk as a Republican, my God.
That's a made-up... Well, I mean, you have no evidence of that. You sit here on TV and you tell people watching this that this is going to Trump's personal bank account.
Yeah, it went to a bank account that was controlled by Donald Trump. I'm not saying that he personally took the billions of dollars, but he advertised the fact. The thing with Trump is that he says the stuff. He don't even need invested journalists. He says the stuff out loud. He puts it on his social media platforms. It was the bank account was controlled by him. And he just said to the victor, the spoils, 19th century adventurism. Why are you denying the facts? Why can't you at least own the guy that you support so slavishly? Why can't he defend the position rather than lying about it and saying that what he said, he didn't say? This is the crazy position, not mine. You're the one with the Trump derangement syndrome, not me.
First of all, Jonathan, I never go on TV and lie. Everything I say is a fact. You may disagree with the facts, but I always back it up.
You just accuse me of lying, and I'm just saying you're projecting, mate, because you're the one that's been lying all along.
First of all, Jonathan, let's get to the reality here. Okay, the United States had a warrant out for Maduro's arrest. Okay, the United States went in and got Maduro. Thankfully, this was a horrific dictator in Venezuela. And this is somebody who was putting that oil, not in Trump's personal bank account, his own personal bank account. So that's priority number one.
I've never defended Maduro for 1 second. I'm saying you can't go into countries that you don't like and just take their leaders and arrest them. You can't do that. That's not how international law works.
The Venezuelans were quite literally celebrating when it happened, but okay.
Ellie?
Venezuela is now a de facto colony of the United States.
Well, I was just making the point that Venezuelans were actually celebrating when this happened on the streets, but, you know, that doesn't matter. International law first.
International law actually is important, and guess what? We'll all be quite sorry when it finally gets buried by Donald Trump.
I don't know what sort of utopian paradise you thought Venezuela was under Maduro. But,
I never said that, Ben. Why do you mischaracterise what I said? I've never defended Maduro for 1 second, nor the Venezuelan regime, but Delcy Rodriguez is some kind of puppet leader controlled by Trump. It's not the answer. Neither is a kind of 19th century colonial adventurism where Donald Trump gets to personally control the resources of a sovereign nation that's not actually being used for the good of the people, but flowing to US oil companies.
That starves its people. A sovereign nation that starves its people, exports terror and plumps up the IRGC. Nobody cares about international law anymore, Jonathan. People care about doing the right thing, not hiding behind.
So you're now talking about Iran now. You're saying so that
2026.
What are we talking about now? Iran or Venezuela? Both of those things were illegal, by the way.
Venezuela propped up the Iranian regime. They washed, they laundered, they laundered oil.
I've never defended the Venezuelan regime for 1 second. If you can find me one example of me defending Maduro for 1 second, I'd be interested to hear it, because I never have. That doesn't mean that you can just go and arrest him and charge him on US grounds, because Venezuela is a sovereign state.
A sovereign state? They're about as sovereign as the crap on the bottom of my shoe.
What does that even mean? You're saying Venezuela's not a sovereign state, so you think it belongs to the United States? At least you're honest about it, then.
They were run by a commie, Jonathan. They were run by a commie dictator who tortured, murdered, and starved their own citizens.
12 years
stole all
old?
the oil money. They're communists. Washed the Iranian oil money, IRGC money, which funded terror attacks all across the West, also bypassing sanctions for Iran and China as well. You seem to have a problem with the fact that Trump went in there, got Maduro, and has liberated Venezuelan people who are celebrating in mass on the streets. What's your problem with it?
A foreign head of state in the same way that Americans wouldn't like it if someone went to Washington, D.C. and kidnapped Donald Trump and his wife. I wouldn't like that either. I think that would be wrong. Why can't we just apply the same basic standards across the board? You can't just go into countries that you don't like and arrest the leader and their spouse. You can't do that. And then you can't steal the resources afterwards. You can't do that either.
Do you not care at all that the Venezuelan people were actually celebrating after this happened, or is that irrelevant to this?
I don't understand why this kind of emotional blackmail is useful either.
How's that emotional blackmail?
Of course
That's facts.
Because the fact that of course there are many people in Venezuela who would be glad to see the back of Maduro. I don't deny that for a second. It doesn't mean that you can justify going into any country you like and just capturing, kidnapping the leader and stealing the resources of that country for your own good. If you disagree with that, then that's fine, but I happen to think that's a basic principle.
OK, right. Thank you very much. Right, still ahead on the Late Show Live. Great point, Jonathan. Another top White House official has quit following White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who resigned yesterday. I'll reveal who the latest name is. But first tonight, I'll bring you an exclusive GB News interview as Britain celebrates victory over Japan Day. This is the Late Show Live. A very quick look at your weather. Don't go anywhere.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following another very warm, uncomfortable night for sleeping. It's a humid start to the weekend, but cooler air is on the way. First things first, some showers and thunderstorms to clear eastwards. Then, for much of the UK, it's a dry Saturday. A bit more cloud in the sky for many, but still some sunshine. Now, the one exception, the north and west of Scotland, where showers will rattle through one after the other into the afternoon. Brisk breeze here and feeling on the cool side. Further south, we've still got temperatures widely in the mid-20s and that humid feel, with temperatures reaching 29 or 30 Celsius in the extreme southeast. That's where the heat lingers. But that heat is clearing. It could spark the odd shower into the evening. Otherwise, it's simply a dry Saturday for many places. Sunny spells continuing into the evening. Warm but not oppressively hot. And this fresher feel for many northern and western parts of the UK in particular. A lot of cloud for Northern Ireland into Scotland. We've still got those showers coming and going for the north of Scotland primarily. And they'll continue overnight. But further west, there's another system knocking on the door. That's going to bring thickening cloud into Northern Ireland, western Scotland, eventually Irish sea coast, and some dribs and drabs of mostly light rain. So not a soaking, but certainly more mixed by the start of Sunday. Another warm night to come towards the southeast, much cooler towards the northwest. And we do have this less humid air making inroads from the northwest to the southeast throughout the weekend, so gradually becoming less humid and feeling a little fresher, but still some warmth coming through with sunny spells for many parts of the south of the UK. No meaningful rain in the south this weekend, but there is a chance of some rain at least in the south middle of next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Right, hope everybody's recovered after that debate. Let's move on. One of Donald Trump's most senior national security advisors is resigning as the conflict with Iran intensifies. So Deputy National Security Advisor Andy Baker, pictured on the right-hand side of your screens now if you're watching on telly. He was a close ally of Vice President JD Vance, and he played a central role in the now stalled peace talks and in advising the president over the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. But his departure comes as Trump told Americans earlier to accept higher fuel prices, and claims he will soon declare the vital shipping route of the Strait of Hormuz a territory of the United States.
And after we finish defeating Iran, which is being very badly defeated, pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. Essentially, that's what it is. We have the blockade. No ships get through unless we want them to.
Right, with me now is geopolitical expert, friend of the show, Kate Jones. Hello, Kate. Good to see you. First of all, I mean, that claim about the Strait of Hormuz becoming US territory, he is joking, isn't he?
Yeah, you did hear a little bit of a chuckle there. But yes, he's making a point. I suppose he wants Iran to hear it as well. And he's saying that the US has the control. So, yeah, I do think that's a bit of a joke.
OK, good to hear. What do we make of the departure of Andy Baker, the Deputy National Security Advisor, close friend of JD Vance, an ally? Of course, it follows off the back of Caroline Leavitt as well, the press sec. Is there a White House exodus, or is this sort of par for the course in US administrations?
It's a bit of par for the course. And in both of these cases, there were personal reasons. Same for Andy Baker. He has a young family, and he had stayed longer than he had intended. But these are two very important figures in the administration. So, you know, clearly Caroline Leavitt as the communications lead for Trump. And then with Andy Baker, he was one of the architects of this policy in the United States of the way that U.S. power was projected, and projecting that on a values-based and conditional basis that had sort of changed the perspective from the Cold War. And so you saw this, he was one of the architects of the Munich security speech that JD Vance had made, in which there was a questioning of Europe and European values, migration, freedom of speech. And it was a questioning of, you know, are these democracies, are these shared democratic values? And then does American power belong aligned to in areas where it may or may not have its true friendships. And this is a divide inside the Republican Party too. There's one that sort of wants to stay with the old way of doing things, and there's another that sort of looks at the potential confrontation directly with China and asks, you know, there are finite resources here. The United States cannot fight wars on multiple fronts. How does it align its policy to its actual interests? So
interesting. So are you saying then, Kate, yeah, are you saying then potentially that Baker, who was a friend and ally of JD Vance, it's no secret that Vance was opposed philosophically to Iran. President Trump said so himself, said he didn't agree with it. Has Baker stepped down because of the situation with Iran, do you think, directly?
No, I don't think so. He was in the Situation Room during that. He was not against intervention. But he was more about selective use of power. And he and Vance were very much of the same thought because of the GWOT and the war on terror. So they felt that the expression of U.S. power had not really had any real gain for the United States, and that resources had been wasted during that period. And so both men had this idea about changing the way that American power was used. And, you know, if you go back to the Reagan administration, there were also voices that said that these should be used for U.S. interests directly. People like Caspar Weinberger, I'm going to forget some of the names, but you had this idea, but it was still along the lines of this sort of the global rules-based ideas about democracies standing together and having sets of shared values. The change in this administration was that power is constrained now because U.S. doesn't have the ability to project, because China is now a peer to near peer.
Just finally, Kate, let me just ask you, is President Trump down a cul-de-sac with Iran at the moment? Do you think he knows what he's doing?
I couldn't say what the president's thoughts are on Iran, because a lot of things are posturing. Both sides are frequently engaging in rhetorical gestures towards each other they're poking each other, but they do have a serious conflict, and it would be hard to see how they resolve that conflict without enough pain and suffering that one side gives way. The nuclear materials and the control of the strait are both their red lines. And so when there are two parties that have the same red lines, there's no ability to make a concession until the pain point is reached, that they say, okay, this hurts too much. Financially, we can't take it anymore. And it's economic on both sides. So, you know, both the Iranians and the U.S. and global economy are suffering as a result of this. And it is an absolute standoff. But at some point, I do think the break happens because Iran can't continue to fund itself. And that does look, and I've kind of always thought that that was the piece. But then also internally, you have a very large population of Kurdish people, and they are in the regions that have the oil fields. And so it's something worth considering, that if unrest does get there, and we've talked about it a lot, but because of the financial constraints, that probably is the point of push.
Okay, interesting. Kate, thank you so much. Yeah, I think it was Besant talking about Operation Economic Fury Round 2 at some point. So, yeah, we'll just see how long the Iranians, well, the regime at least, lasts. Kate Jones, thank you so much. Good to see you again. Appreciate it, as always. Let's get some thoughts quickly from the panel. Matt Terrell, 2 aides have now left. Well, aides. Caroline Levitt's gone, or going at the end of the month. Baker leaving as well. Cause for concern there that the ship is being diluted a bit in terms of staff, or is that just normal?
No, this is normal course for, frankly, any White House. These are extremely demanding jobs. You know, they're long hours, a lot of long days and short nights. In many cases, these are people like Caroline with a very young family. So this is par for the course. You have your time in service, you leave to go do other things, likely in the private sector. Sounds like that's what these people are doing. It's a normal cycle.
Your old boss, Marco Rubio, celebrated his birthday, was it yesterday or the day before? Who's going to be the pick for the Republican nominee in a few years? Rubio or Vance? And would you go and work for Rubio again?
Well, it was an honor to work on his campaign in 2016. And look, if there's the Marco Rubio tour bus, I'd be the driver for it, and I do it for free. But the bottom line here is they're both very high quality, impressive individuals. You know, a week is a lifetime in politics. We have a lot of weeks to go between now and 2028. We'll see what Secretary Rubio does and what Vice President Vance does. But look, they're very strong individuals, great public servants.
Okay. David, your thoughts on Andy Baker leaving and as well Caroline Levitt?
Look, I think the first year of this administration was notable for its stability. Cabinet secretaries remained in place and so on. Now, the departure of Levitt and Baker in just a few days, it's an ominous sign. Critics would say rats deserting a sinking ship. I think at a moment when Trump is in real trouble. He's trapped in this Iran war quagmire with no obvious strategy, no end in sight. The electorate isn't happy about prices going up. They say, look, Trump campaigned on lowering prices. That's not happened. He campaigned on keeping us out of forever wars, and that's not happened. There's a sense of malaise, and then those voters who, of course, will be going to the polls in the midterms, particularly offended by the fact that Trump seems so obsessed with renovations and monuments all over Washington, the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool debacle, a triumphal arch, a White House ballroom. The New York Times journalist Maggie Haberman said the other day she estimates Trump now spends 70% of his mind share thinking about these beautification and...
But surely you're the US government, with all the money in the world, you're the greatest minds in the world, surely you can, what they say, chew gum and walk at the same time?
I think voters just want to know what on earth is going on. This is not what we elected him for.
All right. Ellie, any thoughts on this, very quickly?
I just wanted to quickly make a point about Caroline Leavitt. I mean, I think that she is quite a big loss to the administration, and I actually, as a young woman myself, she was quite an inspiration to me, and not necessarily because I agree with everything that she says, but because she's a young, strong, confident woman who took absolutely no nonsense whatsoever. So I think that she'll be a really big loss, and I'm quite sad to see her go, actually.
I lied through her teeth every single day.
Yeah, she was great. Jonathan, last word to you. You've got 20 seconds.
Well, look, the rats are leaving the sinking ship. Trump is at record levels of unpopularity. He doesn't know what to do with Iran, the illegal war that he started at Netanyahu's behest. He has no idea how to get out of it. And people are realising that he's a lame duck. And hopefully he'll lose big time in the midterms. Fingers crossed.
OK. Guys, thank you so much for tonight. Jonathan, appreciate it. Ellie, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed your first Late Show Live outing. I hope we didn't scare you off too much. I think you kept Jonathan in check. Matt as well, and David, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And of course, you, the viewers and listeners back home, I'll be back tomorrow night, midnight in the UK. Until then, enjoy your Saturday, sweet dreams, and good night. Mwah. Goodbye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following another very warm, uncomfortable night for sleeping. It's a humid start to the weekend, but cooler air is on the way. First things first, some showers and thunderstorms to clear eastwards. Then, for much of the UK, it's a dry Saturday. A bit more cloud in the sky for many, but still some sunshine. Now, the one exception, the north and west of Scotland, where showers will rattle through one after the other into the afternoon. Brisk breeze here and feeling on the cool side. Further south, we've still got temperatures widely in the mid-20s and that humid feel, with temperatures reaching 29 or 30 Celsius in the extreme southeast. That's where the heat lingers. But that heat is clearing. It could spark the odd shower into the evening. Otherwise, it's simply a dry Saturday for many places. Sunny spells continuing into the evening. Warm but not oppressively hot. And this fresher feel for many northern and western parts of the UK in particular. A lot of cloud for Northern Ireland into Scotland. We've still got those showers coming and going for the north of Scotland primarily. And they'll continue overnight. But further west, there's another system knocking on the door. That's going to bring thickening cloud into Northern Ireland, western Scotland, eventually Irish sea coast, and some dribs and drabs of mostly light rain. So not a soaking, but certainly more mixed by the start of Sunday. Another warm night to come towards the southeast, much cooler towards the northwest. And we do have this less humid air making inroads from the northwest to the southeast throughout the weekend, so gradually becoming less humid and feeling a little fresher, but still some warmth coming through with sunny spells for many parts of the south of the UK. No meaningful rain in the south this weekend, but there is a chance of some rain at least in the south middle of next week.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me. Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain,
With our team of dedicated journalists across the